Chapter 1061. A sudden attack. How could He-Young not be happy? He felt like he was on a roller coaster, from heaven to hell, and from hell to heaven in an instant. Since Qin Sheng came to Shenzhen, He-Young had not had a good time. Half a month had passed unknowingly. Qin Sheng forced him to a dead end step by step, so that he could not do anything about it. In the end, he could only beg Qin Sheng for mercy and was ready to accept the harsh conditions of Qin Sheng and the Qin family. Once he accepted these conditions, He-Young would no longer be the same He-Young. He was already old, and he didn't have the time and energy to work hard anymore, because the Qin family had sucked away all his years of hard work. Therefore, he had been very depressed and aggrieved during this period. Even his hair had turned white, let alone his mental state. But now he did not need to. He did not need to do anything. He did not need to be afraid of Qin Sheng and the Qin family. He did not need to beg anyone anymore. He was still the domineering He-Young. All this was because sixth uncle helped him again. What else did he have to worry about? How could he not be happy? Didn't he like a few bags in Wanxiang City? I'm happy today, so I'll give them to you. I'll ask them to send them over tomorrow, He-Young said straightforwardly. Because of the recent events, He-Young had been restricting his wife's high consumption. Now, he did not need to restrict his wife's high consumption anymore. Hearing this, his wife said in disbelief, "Really?" He-Young did not care and said, "Why would I lie to you? Go get some dishes to go with the wine. I want to have a drink." "Okay, hubby, I'll go right now." He-Young's wife left quickly. When He-Young went downstairs, he saw Duan Kai still waiting for him in the living room. Maybe he was afraid that something would happen to him, or maybe he was waiting for him to make a choice so that he could prepare for what would happen next. After all, Duan Kai was He-Young's incompetent advisor. Moreover, He-Young had treated him well all these years, so he was very loyal to He-Young. Unfortunately, the Qin family had treated He-Young well all these years, but He-Young betrayed the Qin family when they were in the most difficult time. Duan Kai had heard the noise upstairs. Seeing the smile on He-Young's face and his completely different mental state, he asked curiously, "Brother, what's wrong?" He-Young laughed and said, "Nothing. I'm just happy. Looks like you've thought of a way. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so happy," Duan Kai said thoughtfully. He-Young pointed at Duan Kai and said, "Duan Kai knows me best. We don't need to care about the Qin family anymore, let alone anyone else. He-Young, I'm still the same He-Young. I will make all of them regret it. Drink with me today. It's been so frustrating." Hearing this, Duan Kai was very happy. It seemed that He-Young had found reinforcements. As for who the reinforcements were, he could not guess, but he would find out sooner or later. He asked subconsciously, "Brother, what's the Qin family's reply?" He-Young replied disapprovingly, "Who cares? Let Qin Sheng, that ignorant boy, wait and see." Now, the initiative was in his hands, not the Qin family's. He would let Qin Sheng wait like this. Qin Sheng would not be able to wait any longer. At that time, Qin Sheng would definitely take the initiative to contact him. Then, he would humiliate this son of 8B*TCH. In the early morning of the next day, Zhao Zheng, the trusted subordinate of sixth uncle, arrived in Shenzhen with a few subordinates. Several masters sent by Master Long also came with them. However, it was not Old Ghost and the others. Old Ghost had already arrived in Shenzhen with two top masters from Master Long's side. They even started to follow Qin Sheng. However, they were very clever and had not been discovered yet. It could be said that Elder Long was determined to win this time. He-Young and Duan Kai did not go to the airport. They just waited in a villa arranged for Zhao Zheng. He-Young told Duan Kai that he would see the people who would help them in a while, so Duan Kai was also looking forward to it. When Zhao Zheng appeared, Duan Kai instantly understood why He-Young was so happy. He also understood why He-Young dared to say that he did not need to be afraid of the Qin family and did not need to beg anyone. Because He-Young's reinforcements were sixth uncle and others. It seemed that only sixth uncle and others could help He-Young at this time. However, when they contacted sixth uncle and others some time ago, didn't they refuse? Why did they suddenly agree? Duan Kai was a little confused. This might be a game between the big bosses. Maybe the Qin family and sixth uncle and others fell out again, so sixth uncle and others would support He-Young again. However, who knew when they would reconcile again? At that time, Hyung would probably be sacrificed again. This time, it was just a chance for Hyung to struggle at death's door. Hyung walked over slowly and took the initiative to shake hands with him. Lao Zhao, we meet again. Zhao Zheng was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He looked very ordinary and didn't have any special characteristics. He looked like an ordinary office worker and didn't have any temperament. However, he was able to become one of Sixth Uncle's confidants. This showed that Zhao Zheng was not easy. Brother, he long time no see. How have you been? Zhao Zheng said half-jokingly. Hyung let out a long sigh and said, Lao Zhao, if I were good, I guess we would not be able to meet each other. Ha ha ha, brother he, you are really good at joking. How could it be a big deal? I'm here to help brother he, aren't I? Sixth Uncle and others have already told me that as long as brother he has any trouble, I will do my best. Sixth Uncle can control it from Beijing, Zhao Zheng said slowly. Hearing this, Hyung felt relieved and said, Then I will trouble you, Lao Zhao. At this time, Duan Kai also walked over and said, Brother Zhao, you are finally here. Lao Duan, we two brothers should cooperate well from now on. Don't let the Qin family down, Zhao Zheng said very gloomily. Duan Kai laughed and said, Of course. After a simple greeting, they directly went into the room to have a secret talk. Hyung could not wait to solve the crisis. As for the welcoming dinner for Zhao Zheng, it was all secondary. He thought that Zhao Zheng would not care about it. Brother he, tell me about your current problem so that I can help you solve it or tell Sixth Uncle, Zhao Zheng said directly. Hyung and Duan Kai looked at each other. In the end, Duan Kai said, At present, we have a few problems. First, the Qin family suspended Mr. He from his position. At the same time, they sent a team to check the company's accounts. How can we stop them from checking the accounts? Second, the financial director of our company in Shenzhen is controlled by the Qin family. This is also a big problem. Now we can't find this financial director. He knows a lot of our secrets. Third, the Qin family exerted pressure on the Chaos Han Chamber of Commerce through the Fong family. As a result, several partners of the Chaos Han Chamber of Commerce stopped cooperating with us. Our project is in urgent need of funds, and they dare not cooperate with us. The last problem is the bank's withdrawal of the loan. The Qin family contacted our lending bank through their connections. These banks said that because of irresistible factors, they asked us to pay the loan in advance. They are forcing us to a dead end. After Duan Kai finished speaking, Hyung looked at Zhao Zheng and said, Lao Zhao, these are the problems. Do you have any ideas? Zhao Zheng was lost in thought and did not directly answer the question. After a long time, Zhao Zheng said slowly, I will report to Sixth Uncle about the Fong family, the Chaos Han Chamber of Commerce, and the bank's withdrawal of the loan. It is not difficult for Sixth Uncle. You don't need to worry about it. The financial director is the most important thing now. We must find a way to catch him. Next, you must cooperate with me to find this financial director. Once we find some clues, I will ask Elder Long to send some experts to take action. Otherwise, ordinary people will not be a match for the Qin family. As for how to stop the Qin family from checking the accounts, I think there is no other way except to stop them with violence. After all, this is the Qin family's company. It is natural for the Qin family to check the accounts. How to stop them with violence? Hyung asked. Zhao Zheng said with a smile, Brother he, do you need to ask me? Over the years, you have done this kind of thing many times, right? You're just making trouble for them, right? I see. I know what to do. Hyung laughed. The problem that had been bothering him for a long time was solved so easily. Sixth Uncle was still the Sixth Uncle. He had to admire him. However, he did not know how the next step would be. If everything went well, the Qin family would have a headache. He wanted to give the Qin family a hard blow. Chapter 1062. 2 days had passed, but there was no response from Hyung, which surprised Qin Sheng. Was Hyung still hesitating? Or had Hyung found another way? Qin Sheng was not idle these 2 days. He attended many parties and private gatherings in Shenzhen because Fong Tianai came to Shenzhen again. Qin Sheng did not know whether it was because of the Fong family or he came to find Qin Sheng. Anyway, Qin Sheng was waiting for Hyung's news. He had nothing else to do, so he followed Fong Tianai to meet many tycoons, including a few tycoons from Hong Kong. Qin Sheng did not continue to pressure He Yong. He had done what he should. He was only waiting for He Yong's reply. Qin Sheng believed that He Yong would definitely agree. He really had no other way out. Do you really believe that He Yong will agree to your conditions? Fong Tianai said doubtfully. He thought that He Yong would not give up easily. Qin Sheng chuckled and said, "Does he have any other way?" "You're right. He Yong should have thought of everything he could think of. At this point in time, no one would dare to help him. Everyone knows about He Yong's matter. Who would be willing to touch him at this time?" Fong Tianai also kept an eye on He Yong. He knew that He Yong had called many people in Shenzhen, but no one was willing to help him. This was not a matter of talking about conditions. Qin Sheng said casually, "I'm going to Ningbo tomorrow. If He Yong still has no reply when I come back, I will take it that he has refused. Then we could go directly." Qin Sheng had promised Xue Qingyan and Lin Su to go to Ningbo. It had been delayed for several days. If Fong Tianai had not come to Shenzhen again, Qin Sheng would have gone to Ningbo today. If it continued to be delayed, even he felt a little embarrassed. After all, he had to take care of Lin Su's feelings. Otherwise, even Xue Qingyan would definitely have an opinion. "Why are you going to Ningbo?" Fong Tianai frowned and asked. Qin Sheng said in a low voice, "An elder is dying. I'm going to see him. He used to be very good to me. If I don't go, he will feel guilty." "That's right. Don't worry. I'll keep an eye on him," Fong Tianai said with a smile. In the evening, Gu Jianxin was ready to meet Xie Herong again. This was because the team had found some accounting problems today. These were all revealed by Xie Herong. However, Xie Herong was unwilling to tell him everything. He would only say a little, which annoyed Gu Jianxin. Xie Herong was still hesitant to tell him everything even after Hao Lei took action. Xie Herong did not go with the others because he was afraid of being followed and discovered. This was because he would separate from the team every time and go to the villa alone. This way, it would be safer. After all, Xie Herong's identity was quite special, and he could not be discovered yet. However, not long after Gu Jianxin set off alone, he was spotted by 2 cars behind him. They had been following Gu Jianxin to the villa where Xie Herong was hidden, but Gu Jianxin did not notice them at all. The people following Xie Herong were from Elder Long's team. In the past 2 days, they found that Gu Jianxin always disappeared for a while and appeared again after a while, which made them suspicious. After all, Gu Jianxin was the person in charge of the Qin family's team. He was also the temporary vice president and financial director of the new company. It was very likely that he knew where Xie Herong was kept. Therefore, after confirming this possibility, Zhao Zheng sent more people to follow Gu Jianxin. Once they found Xie Herong, they would take action immediately. At the same time, they were ready to take action against Gu Jianxin. If something happened to Gu Jianxin, the Qin family's team would be in chaos. At the same time, Zhao Zheng would also take action against Tan Zhe, the person in charge of the accounting team. When Gu Jianxin arrived at the gate of the old villa, he deliberately looked around to make sure that no one was following him. Then he drove in directly. The Qin family had already arranged a good relationship with the security guards. Elder Long's men were not in a hurry to follow Qin Haodong in. Instead, they sent 2 people to get out of the car and climb over the wall while the others waited outside. The middle-aged man in charge of this task frowned and said, "No matter whether he is here to see Xie Herong or not, we will take action against him tonight. Have you arranged a driver?" He Yong has arranged a driver. He should be a man he trusts. He is on the way now. We will find a good time to take action, the man replied in a low voice. The middle-aged man said lightly, "Good." In the community, Gu Jianxin drove the car to the gate of the villa and then went in directly. He thought that since he was already here, no one would follow him, so he did not think too much about it. After Gu Jianxin went in, he found that there were only 2 bodyguards here. Hao Lei was not here, so he asked, "Is Hao Lei not here today?" "Brother Gu, young master has something to tell him. Brother Lei will come later," the bodyguard of the Qin family said in a low voice. During this period, they had become familiar with Gu Jianxin, so they trusted him very much. Gu Jianxin did not think too much about it. After all, He was a busy man. He had only met him 3 times since he arrived in Shenzhen, and they basically talked on the phone the rest of the time. After saying hello, Gu Jianxin went directly into the room. Seeing Gu Jianxin coming in, Xie Herong was somewhat unhappy. He knew that Gu Jianxin was going to ask him something again. He was already a little annoyed. If the Qin family did not let him go out, he would refuse to cooperate with them anymore. A few minutes later, the 2 men left the villa. They finally got the information they wanted, so they were eager to go back and claim credit. When they went back to the car, they could not wait to say, "Boss, we finally found it. Xie Herong is in there." "Are you sure?" the middle-aged man said excitedly. The man replied hurriedly, "We are sure. When Gu Jianxin opened the door, we saw Xie Herong in there. There is no mistake. Apart from Xie Herong, how many people from the Qin family are in there?" The middle-aged man continued to ask. The man answered truthfully, "Apart from Gu Jianxin and Xie Herong, there are only 2 men. They should be the bodyguards of the Qin family." The middle-aged man was very happy to hear the news. He called Zhao Zheng in a hurry. After telling the information, Zhao Zheng only said one sentence, which was to directly take action when Gu Jianxin came out. Obviously, they had to act separately to deal with Gu Jianxin and take Xie Herong away. After all, Gu Jianxin and Xie Herong were different. Xie Herong was going to kill him, while Gu Jianxin was not going to kill him. He just wanted to create a car accident to stop the Qin family from checking the account. In the residence arranged by He Yong for Zhao Zheng was drinking with He Yong and Duan Kai. After answering the phone, He Yong could not wait to ask, "How is it? Is there any news?" Zhao Zheng said with a smile, "It has been 2 days. If there is no news, our work efficiency is too low. Since Xie Herong has been found, we can fight back." "You found him?" He Yong said in surprise. Zhao Zheng said quietly, "I've arranged it. After Gu Jianxin leaves, they will take Xie Herong away. At that time, you can kill him or keep him alive." "What about Gu Jianxin? Aren't you going to take action against him tonight?" Duan Kai asked hurriedly. Zhao Zheng said quietly, "Lao Duan, why are you so anxious? We have to take care of things one by one. Whether or not we find Xie Herong tonight, we will make a move on Gu Jianxin. So, you don't have to worry. Let's drink quietly and wait for the good news." Hearing this, He Yong was completely relieved. He picked up his glass and said happily, "Let's drink." Half an hour later, Gu Jianxin came out of Xie Herong's room and asked about some things. Xie Herong told him a lot of things and asked him to go to Hong Kong to see his wife and children. His wife and children would be worried if he didn't go back. If Gu Jianxin didn't let him go back, he would refuse to cooperate with them. Gu Jianxin did not agree directly. He just said that he would tell Qin Sheng when he went back. As for Qin Sheng's decision, he did not know. When Gu Jianxin came out, the bodyguard of the Qin family asked, "Brother Gu, how is it? Did he tell you a lot of things?" "Much better than before," Gu Jianxin answered honestly. The bodyguard of the Qin family smiled and flattered him. "Brother Gu, you're the best." When they got some food and wine, they asked, "Brother Gu, do you want to have some food before you go?" Gu Jianxin shook his head and said, "No, you can eat. Keep an eye on Xie Herong. Don't let anything happen to him." The 2 bodyguards did not ask Gu Jianxin to stay. They smiled and sent Gu Jianxin out of the villa. How could they not keep an eye on a weak Xie Herong? After leaving the villa, Gu Jianxin directly drove back. When he left the villa community, the middle-aged man and his men who had been guarding at the door saw him. They smiled and said, "Let's do it." One of the cars left with Gu Jianxin. There were only 2 people in the car. They only needed to keep an eye on Gu Jianxin. According to their previous habits, Gu Jianxin would definitely go back to the hotel directly, and they had arranged it on the way to the hotel. As for the others, they drove the car to a hidden place in the community. They had observed the surrounding environment of the community and found that it was the most hidden place with no passers-by. One person waited in the car, while the other 3 people got out slowly and directly went into the community. In the hotel, Qin Sheng did not know that the crisis had come. He was making arrangements for his trip to Ningbo. This time, apart from Chang Baji, He Wei, and Fu Rong, who would go to Ningbo with him. After all, in this special period, no one dared to let down their guard. Hao stayed in Shenzhen to take charge of the overall situation. At this time, Qin Sheng said, "I've arranged everything. Hao, you can go back now. Call me if you need anything. Don't worry. I'll keep an eye on Heyong," Hao said faintly, and then left the hotel. But he did not know if he could make it in time. Chapter 1063. There were too many legendary stories about Shenzhen, a city that caught up from behind. Otherwise, how could it have developed from a small fishing village to such an international metropolis? It had even surpassed its neighbor, Hong Kong. After all, the pillar industries of Hong Kong were finance, tourism, and service industries, while Shenzhen was now a new international city that was fully developed in terms of high technology, internet, finance, heavy industry, and so on. Every city would continue to develop and evolve, and the center of the city would also move along with the development. In the past, the city center gradually became the old city. Now, places like Fujian, Shikoh, and Qianhai had become the stars of the city. Therefore, the rich gradually moved there, and the old city gradually became less populated. This was the case in the villa area where Xie Heirong was placed under house arrest. In the past, if one could live here, he would definitely be considered a rich person in Shenzhen. However, now there were no real rich people here. Most of the people living here were renters. Even the property management had changed several times, so the management was relatively lax. In the villa, 2 bodyguards of the Qin family were drinking and eating. Naturally, they did not dare to drink too much. They just drank a few bottles of beer to satisfy their cravings. After all, the Qin family still had rules in this regard. These rules were specified from the beginning. Many people who violated the rules were eventually driven out of the Qin family. Not everywhere could be treated like the Qin family. The weather in Shenzhen could not be repeated. Maybe it was going to rain. There was already a strong wind blowing outside. The windows were flapping because of the wind. The bodyguard of the Qin family said, "Lao Li, go and close the windows." "Why don't you go?" The bodyguard called Lao Li said, half-jokingly. It was not that he did not want to go. Life during this period was very boring, so he had to find some fun. The bodyguard who spoke laughed and said, "Let's play rock, scissors. Whoever loses will go." As expected, this suggestion was accepted. The two were already very familiar with each other. They often teased each other about trivial things. After playing rock, scissors, as expected, Lowly lost. He cursed and walked to the back. As soon as he arrived there, he saw that the window was wide open. Without thinking much, he walked over and closed it directly. However, subconsciously, he felt that there was someone in the storage room behind him. He shouted directly, "Who is it?" Before he could finish speaking, a man's fist had already arrived in front of him. The bodyguard had no time to react and was directly stunned. When he came to his senses, another man appeared behind him and directly hit the back of his head with a stick. The bodyguard instantly lost his fighting power and fell to the ground. Under normal circumstances, this bodyguard would not have been let go so easily. After all, those who could join the Qin family had some skills. Unfortunately, he was ambushed and had no time to fight back. He could only blame it on his bad luck. After dealing with the bodyguard, the 3 men slowly walked into the living room and went straight to the remaining bodyguard. At this time, the bodyguard had already heard the noise here and was about to walk over. When he saw the 3 strange men suddenly appear, he frowned and shouted, "Who are you?" The middle-aged man in charge of the operation on Old Dragon's side looked at his 2 subordinates and said, "Which one of you will handle this?" Those who were sent to Shenzhen were not ordinary people. A man with a scar at the corner of his mouth said happily, "Boss, let me do it." The middle-aged man chuckled and said, "Turn off the light and do it." After that, the middle-aged man walked to the room where Xie Heirong was locked. Seeing this, the bodyguard of the Qin family was about to stop him without hesitation. However, he was directly stopped by the man with a scar at the corner of his mouth and kicked at his chest. The bodyguard of the Qin family felt that the other party was coming aggressively, so he did not dare to be careless at all. He had no choice but to face it helplessly. As for the remaining man, he was just watching the battle out of boredom. If his companions could not solve the problem in a short time, he would definitely take action. They would not care about fairness, because their purpose was very simple, which was to complete the task smoothly. In the room, Sia Herong was wondering what was going on outside. At this time, the door of the room was directly pushed open. Sia Herong saw a strange man walking in. He frowned and asked, "Who are you?" The middle-aged man was very calm and said, "One of us." "One of us?" Sia Herong said in surprise. The middle-aged man said lightly, "Mister, he asked us to save you. You have worked hard during this period. Let's go." Hearing that they were sent by Hyong, Sia Herong instantly panicked. He knew Hyong's style of doing things. During this period, the Chin family had found a lot of problems, which only he knew. Hyong must have known that he had cooperated with the Chin family, so he would definitely try to find him. Once he was found by Hyong, the result would be estimated. Because Hyong was cruel and merciless, he would definitely kill him. Therefore, Sia Herong looked at the man in fear and shouted, "I won't go. I won't go anywhere." The middle-aged man did not expect that Sia Herong would not cooperate. He had to have a cold smile and said, "Sia Herong, don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. If you don't want to go, I have to ask you to leave." After that, the man slowly walked forward. Sia Herong was so scared that he trembled. He had to subconsciously step back. However, the room was only so big. Where could he go? Now he was a little regretful. If he had told the Chin family everything earlier, maybe he would not have been in danger now. Since he was going to die either way, Sia Herong had to pluck up his courage and shout, "I'll fight with you." After that, he rushed to the man. However, what he got in return was a slap from the man. Sia Herong was no match for this middle-aged man. The slap directly made him dizzy. Sia Herong was lying on the bed. Before he came to his senses, the man had already picked him up like a chicken. Then he punched Sia Herong mercilessly, and Sia Herong directly passed out. When the middle-aged man carried Sia Herong out, the fight outside had already ended. As expected, the bodyguards of the Chin family had been killed. The middle-aged man asked casually, "Did anyone die?" The man, who had been watching the show but had to fight later, said happily, "No. This guy's skills are not simple. Lao San couldn't defeat him in a short time, so I had to help." The middle-aged man looked at the man with a scar on the corner of his mouth and said, "Lao San, you need to practice your skills." Lao San felt a little guilty and said, "Boss, I got it." Without any delay, after chatting for a while, the three of them carried Sia Herong away, leaving only the two bodyguards of the Chin family lying on the ground. If they had faced ordinary people, they would have been able to stop them. However, they had run into people sent by Elder Long. On Brong Road, Hao still didn't know what had happened. He was going to call the two bodyguards of the Chin family and ask if they had had dinner yet. If they hadn't, he would bring some food along the way. However, after calling the number twice, no one answered. Hao hurriedly called the other one, but still no one answered. Hao subconsciously felt that something was wrong, so he had to speed up and go back. At this moment, Gu Jianxin was about to drive to the hotel. The wind was strong outside, and soon it began to rain. The rain in the south was always fast and violent. The heavy rain made people unable to see the front at all. Gu Jianxin was somewhat anxious to go back. He was going to have another meeting with the team and tell them what he had gotten from Sia Herong today. It was the right time to check the accounts of this period. The red light was red. Gu Jianxin stopped the car and took the opportunity to think about the following work and how to tell Qin Sheng about Sia Herong's request. He estimated that Qin Sheng would not agree. The green light was green. After the driver behind him honked several times, Gu Jianxin came to his senses and hurriedly started the Volvo to move forward. When he was about to walk to the middle of the road, he saw a small truck suddenly rushing out from the right side. The road on the right side was red, but the small truck did not slow down at all. Gu Jianxin didn't know what had happened. Gu Jianxin was a little shocked. Seeing that the small truck was about to hit him, he hurriedly tried to change the direction to avoid it, but it was too late. Bang, with a loud sound, the small truck hit Gu Jianxin's Volvo. A man-made car accident happened just like that, in the old villa community. When Hao arrived, all the lights in the villa were off. He instantly felt that something might have happened, so he hurriedly rushed in after getting out of the car. After turning on the lights, he found that it was a mess inside. The bodyguard of the Qin family was lying in the living room, his face covered with blood, and no one knew whether he was dead or alive. Hao Lei was subconsciously stunned. He had already thought of what might have happened. After coming to his senses, he hurriedly ran over to check if the bodyguard was still alive. After confirming that he was alive, he hurriedly shook him to wake him up. After the bodyguard woke up, he couldn't wait to ask, "Lao Yu, what happened? What's going on?" Lao Yu subconsciously pointed at Xie Hairong's room. Hao Lei immediately understood, leaving Lao Yu behind and directly rushed over. But when he rushed into the room, he panicked because Xie Hairong was gone. It was already late at night. In the hotel, Qin Sheng was ready to go to bed after washing up. After all, he would go to Ningbo early tomorrow morning. Qin Sheng had already told Lin Su that he would go to Ningbo to see his grandma tomorrow. This was what he had promised Lin Su, so he must do it. Qin Sheng felt that there should be a result in Shenzhen after he came back. He had given He Yong enough time. If He Yong was still hesitating, Qin Sheng could only leave him alone. After all, he had given He Yong a chance. At this moment, Qin Sheng's phone suddenly rang. He walked over and saw that it was Hao Lei calling. Then he answered and asked, "Brother Lei, what's up?" "Qin Sheng, Xie Hairong ran away," Hao Lei shouted directly. Qin Sheng was directly stunned. Xie Hairong ran away? Why did he run away? Did he run away by himself or for other reasons? After coming to his senses, Qin Sheng forced himself to calm down and asked, "What happened?" A few minutes later, when Hao Lei told him in detail what had happened, Qin Sheng finally knew what had happened. Xie Hairong did not run away by himself, but was kidnapped by someone else. As for who the kidnapper was, it must be He Yong without much thinking. Other than him, who else could it be? No wonder He Yong did not reply for so long. It turned out that he was secretly planning a counterattack. Qin Sheng had somewhat underestimated He Yong. After hanging up the phone, Qin Sheng prepared to make a call to arrange for Fu Rong and He Wei to go over. At this moment, his phone rang again. When he saw that it was a call from Tanzei, Qin Sheng instinctively felt that something might have happened again. As expected, after he answered the phone, Tanzei directly said a sentence, which instantly made Qin Sheng furious. Gu Jinxin had a car accident. This continuous stream of bad news caught Qin Sheng somewhat unprepared. Chapter 1064. Qin Sheng did not expect such a sudden change. First, Xie Hairong was kidnapped. Then, Gu Jinxin got into a car accident. Such a counterattack was beyond Qin Sheng's expectation. He did not expect that He Yong would dare to do this. This was a full-scale declaration of war against the Qin family. He directly rejected the Qin family with his actions. Why did He Yong do this? Why did He Yong do this? Who gave him the courage? Qin Sheng believed that He Yong would never do this if there were no strong external factors. After all, He Yong had begged for mercy 2 days ago, and it didn't look like he was acting. Moreover, the Qin family had forced He Yong into a corner. If He Yong had a way to fight back, he wouldn't have waited until now. Unless He Yong was very shrewd. The only explanation was that someone was helping him to fight against the Qin family. Who was it? However, Qin Sheng couldn't care less about this now, because he had to deal with the two things in front of him. This directly messed up all his plans. Xie Hairong was kidnapped, which meant that all the clues were broken, and Gu Jinxin got into a car accident, which would stop the Qin family's audit process. Qin Sheng could bear the former, but he couldn't bear the latter. After he came back to his senses, Qin Sheng put on his clothes and ran out in a hurry. Chang Baji, who was outside, had not rested yet. Seeing Qin Sheng coming out in a hurry with a terrible look on his face, Chang Baji frowned and asked, "What happened to you?" Something happened. Qin Sheng didn't have time to explain and directly left the hotel with Chang Baji. At the same time, he told Fu Rong and He Wei to get up and go to Hao Lei's place. He and Chang Baji went to the hospital to see Gu Jinxin, while Fu Rong and He Wei went to Hao Lei's place to deal with the aftermath. It seemed that the problem in Shenzhen couldn't be solved in a short time, and the Qin family had to seek help. For now, the most direct help to the Qin family was the Fong family. Therefore, on the way to the hospital, Qin Sheng directly called Fong Tianai. Fong Tianai was drinking with his friends. Seeing that it was Qin Sheng, he picked up and said with a smile, "Qin Sheng, what's wrong? It's a long night. Can't you sleep?" Qin Sheng didn't have time to joke with Fong Tianai, so he went straight to the point. "Brother Fong, something happened." "What happened?" Hearing Qin Sheng's depressed tone, the smile on Fong Tianai's face instantly disappeared, and he asked hurriedly. If it was not a big deal, Qin Sheng would not have called so late. Qin Sheng told Fong Tianai about the two things that had happened just now. After Fong Tianai heard it, his expression changed instantly, and he said, F***CK. How could this happen? You go to the hospital first. I'll rush over. We'll talk about the details when we meet. When Fu Rong and He Wei heard that something big had just happened, they immediately rushed to He Yong's side. They realized that there might be changes in Shenzhen. Based on their understanding of the whole situation, He Yong did not have the guts to suddenly attack the Qin family. Obviously, He Yong had found a powerful backer. Now that the Qin family was fighting on two fronts, it was hard for them to take care of it at the same time. Therefore, Fu Rong and He Wei did not go through Qin Sheng and directly reported to Old Master He, asking if Old Master He would send reinforcements to Shenzhen. After Old Master He, who was in Beijing, received the call from the two juniors, he did not expect that the situation in Shenzhen, which was about to end, would suddenly change again. He also realized that there was a problem. Old Master He thought of the things that had happened in Beijing some time ago and felt that it was not strange. If He Yong really dared to attack the Qin family, it would not be the forces in Guangdong who would dare to help him. It must be the big shots in Beijing who would help him. Needless to say, the only people who did not get along with the Qin family were Sixth Uncle and Old Long. Moreover, they had supported He Yong and Song Shixin before, so it seemed that they were the only suspects. Everything was logical, and they had the power to do so. Therefore, after thinking through these things, Old Master He did not dare to delay too much. He directly ordered Fu Rong and He Wei to protect Qin Sheng. He would immediately send more people to Shenzhen as reinforcements tomorrow. As for other things, he would discuss with Qin Sheng later. Half an hour later, Qin Sheng arrived at the hospital where Gu Jianxin was located. Tanzei was waiting in the corridor outside the operating room with the two bodyguards of the Qin family and a few members of the Qin family's team. After seeing Qin Sheng and Chang Baji, he immediately came over to greet Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng asked anxiously, "How is Gu Jianxin?" The doctor said that the injury is a bit serious, and he is currently being resuscitated. "We don't know the result yet," Tanzei replied with some worry. He did not expect that such a situation would happen tonight. Hearing the result, Qin Sheng's mood instantly fell to the bottom. He did not expect that things would turn out like this. Although he had already guessed that it was He Yong who did this, Qin Sheng still had to ask, what on earth happened? Why did the car accident happen all of a sudden? Tanzei replied with a livid face. The traffic police are dealing with it now. The general situation is that the driver's small truck suddenly broke down and hit Gu Jianxin's car. Fortunately, Gu Jianxin's car is a Volvo with a relatively high safety factor. If it were an ordinary car of other brands, it is very likely that the driver would die on the spot. Qin Sheng absolutely did not believe that this was the result. He directly arranged and said, Lao Chong, arrange someone to contact the traffic police right now. At the same time, find someone to investigate the background of the small truck driver. I don't believe that there is no trick. Originally, Tanzei did not think much of it, thinking that it was an accident. He asked in a low voice, Chairman Qin, do you mean that it was not an accident? Qin Sheng did not explain too much to Tanzei. Some things, the less Tanzei knew, the better. Now that Gu Jianxin had an accident, Tanzei was temporarily responsible for the Qin family's team. He could not stop the investigation because of Gu Jianxin's accident. Tomorrow, he would ask the Qin family to send someone to take charge of the investigation. Since He Yong wanted to stop his investigation with such a dirty method, he would not let He Yong get what he wanted. Consequently, Qin Sheng directly said, Mr. Tan, I will arrange someone else to take care of Lao Gu in the hospital. I will also inform his family to go to Shenzhen. You don't have to worry about him. As for the investigation team, you will be responsible for the investigation for the time being. I will ask the headquarters in Beijing to send someone to take charge of it. You can go back now." Since Qin Sheng had arranged it in this way, Tanzei could not say anything more. He roughly guessed that some conflicts were likely to have something to do with He Yong. He did not want to get involved, so he replied, "Okay, Chairman Qin, we will go back now. We will contact you if there is anything else." After Tanzei left, only Chang Baji and the 2 bodyguards of the Qin family were left in the hospital. Qin Sheng stayed in the hospital for the time being and did not leave directly. Moreover, Fang Tianai was still on his way. The operation was still in progress, and there would be no result in a short time. Although Gu Jinxin had just joined the Qin family, Qin Sheng was not very familiar with him. After all, he was in trouble for the Qin family. Naturally, Qin Sheng was also very worried about Gu Jinxin's situation. If there was really an accident, Qin Sheng would not be able to explain to Gu Jinxin's family first, which would be a blow to the morale of the Qin family more or less. The bodyguards of the Qin family had already handled all the procedures. Qin Sheng did not need to worry about these aspects. Maybe Fang Tianai had already contacted this hospital through his connections on the way. Before he arrived at the hospital, the person in charge of the hospital had already found Qin Sheng and promised him that the hospital would do its best to strive for the best result. More than 20 minutes later, Fang Tianai finally arrived at the hospital. Fang Tianai said that he had something to do and directly left the drinking party. Although he was not completely drunk, he was full of the smell of alcohol. After seeing Qin Sheng, he hurriedly asked, "How is he now?" Qin Sheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. "He is still in the emergency room." Fang Tianai frowned and asked, "Why did it suddenly become like this?" Qin Sheng said unhurriedly, "Brother Fang, this is He Yong's counterattack and also He Yong's declaration of war. There must be someone behind He Yong." Fang Tianai scolded. "No wonder He Yong did not give you a reply after such a long time. It turns out that he has been preparing for a counterattack. Maybe he want to see you to buy time. He Yong is really shrewd." If this was really the case, the Fang family had to be prepared. They had offended He Yong badly this time. Who knew whether He Yong would take revenge on them or not? At this time, Qin Sheng opened his mouth and said, "Brother Fang, I still need to borrow some people from you tonight. It's so late, and I don't want to disturb my family. I will inform them tomorrow." Fang Tianai said, "These are all small matters. I will call some powerful people to help you. But at least we have to figure out who the real opponent is, right?" Qin Sheng said casually, "It won't take long for us to know. Except for those people, I think it can't be anyone else." At this moment, Qin Sheng's phone rang again. Qin Sheng did not think too much about what bad news it would be. After all, the bad news tonight should have ended. It might be a call from Hao Lei and the others. However, when he saw the name on the phone, Qin Sheng suddenly had a bad premonition, because this call was from Uncle Gong's son. Qin Sheng hesitated for a moment before answering the phone. Sure enough, as he had expected, something had happened in Dalian. Zhuangzhou's disciples, Debao and Erbao, were seriously injured because they protected Gong's son and Nangong. Bai was also slightly injured. The most important thing was that the chess piece that the Qin family had placed beside Song Shixin was dead. At this point, it seemed that Qin Sheng no longer had any doubts. The answer was already obvious. Because the only people who could cause something to happen in Dalian and Shenzhen at the same time were Sixth Uncle and Elder Long, who had previously helped Song Shixin and He Yong to fight against the Qin family. After the two sides had a short honeymoon, because of the old man's revelation in prison, it caused a storm in the Chong and group in an instant. Therefore, Sixth Uncle and Elder Long blamed this matter on the Qin family. The honeymoon between the Qin family and them was directly broken. Sixth Uncle and Elder Long directly attacked the Qin family without informing them. Now that the Qin family was taking time to deal with Song Shixin and He Yong, Sixth Uncle and Elder Long definitely would not let the Qin family get rid of these two big troubles so easily. Therefore, they once again supported Song Shixin and He Yong. No wonder they were so confident this time. Chapter 1065. Qin Sheng didn't expect that Sixth Uncle and Elder Long would go back on their words so quickly and support Song Shixin and He Yong to deal with the Qin family again. Hadn't they reached a consensus before? Moreover, sixth uncle and elder Long still had time to deal with the Qin family. Shouldn't they be facing what they should be facing? Qin Sheng also thought that they might deal with the Qin family again. After all, what happened to the old man put them in a crisis now. That was why he took advantage of this time to deal with Song Shixin and He Yong. However, he didn't expect that they would be so fast and not give the Qin family a chance to breathe at all. This also showed that old man's actions this time had made sixth uncle and elder Long desperate. They held a grudge against the Qin family, so they purposely wanted to disgust the Qin family. Since the Qin family had made them unhappy, they would not let the Qin family have a good time either. If he thought about it carefully, Qin Sheng could understand it more or less. However, he didn't expect that it would be so fast, so he was caught unprepared. Dalian in the north, Shenzhen in the south. So many things happened on the same night. The Qin family's plans in Shenzhen and Dalian were all thwarted. Qin Sheng's mood instantly fell to the bottom. He was supposed to go to Ningbo to see old Madame Lin tomorrow, but now he probably couldn't go. He didn't know how to explain it to Lin Su. Of course, Qin Sheng didn't care about these things at all. After chatting with Uncle Gongsun for a while, Qin Sheng calmed Uncle Gongsun down and asked him to stabilize the situation in Dalian. He told Uncle Gongsun not to tell Annie and sister tonight. They would hold a family video conference at noon tomorrow to discuss how to deal with the sudden change. However, Gongsun also brought good news, which was that Zhuangzhou was rushing to Dalian with some people to help, which also made Qin Sheng feel more at ease. After hanging up the phone, Qin Sheng returned to the operating room. His face was even worse than before, and his mood was getting heavier and heavier. Chang Baji knew that something might have happened again. Otherwise, Qin Sheng wouldn't be so absent-minded. Fang Tianai also felt it and asked directly, "What's wrong? Look at you. Something happened again?" Fang Tianai was also very worried now. Wasn't He Yong's matter about to end soon? Why did this son of a B** TC suddenly fight back so strongly? He had to find out who was supporting He Yong. Otherwise, how could the Fang family face the unknown crisis later? Qin Sheng replied honestly, something happened in Dalian as well. It's similar to what happened in Shenzhen. What happened in Dalian? Does it have anything to do with the Qin family? Fang Tianai asked with a frown. He did not know what had happened to the Qin family in Dalian. Qin Sheng shook his head and sighed bitterly as he explained. There is a Song Shixin in Dalian. His position in the Qin family is similar to that of He Yong. He is in charge of the Qin family's industry in the northeast. He betrayed the Qin family before. This time, other members of the Qin family are also dealing with Song Shixin in Dalian. The process is almost the same as what happened in Shenzhen. I didn't expect that my colleague would get into trouble tonight. Now, I already know who the mastermind is without guessing. So, that was how it was. After listening to Qin Sheng's explanation, Fang Tianai finally understood. The Qin family was indeed different. They had properties all over the country, not to mention the Chong and family that had attracted the attention of others. Then who do you think the mastermind is? Fang Tianai was more concerned about this question. Qin Sheng replied unhurriedly, Sijio City, sixth uncle. After hearing this answer, Fang Tianai was stunned. He didn't expect such an answer. If the mastermind supporting He Yong was really that sixth uncle, then the Fang family might have already offended this sixth uncle. Sixth uncle was very famous in the circle of Sijio City. After all, he was a top red disciple. Even though Fang Tianai was far away in Guangdong, he knew him. Moreover, he often went to Beijing and heard many friends talking about him. Moreover, sixth uncle had a good relationship with the big family in Guangdong. In front of this big family, the Fang family might be nothing. Fang Tianai didn't say anything. He didn't know how to face this matter. After all, the Fang family was now on the side of the Qin family. There were some things that he couldn't decide. He had to go back and discuss it with the old master. It was not that the Fang family was forgetting friendship at the sight of profit, but that the Fang family had to weigh the pros and cons. After all, the Fang family couldn't help the Qin family at the cost of the whole family's fate. Moreover, the Fang family helped the Qin family for the sake of the family's fate. Qin Sheng might have felt Fang Tianai's change, but he didn't think much about it. It was impossible for him to let the Fong family fight against sixth uncle and elder Long with him. After all, it would be too selfish. Moreover, the Fong family didn't have the ability to face sixth uncle and elder Long. Moreover, the Fong family was not stupid. It would cost them too much. Qin Sheng patted Fong Tinya's shoulder gently and said, "Brother Fong, you only need to lend me a few people tonight. You don't have to worry about the rest. You can't afford to offend sixth uncle. Although we are friends, I won't sacrifice my friends for my own sake. Otherwise, who would be willing to be my friend?" Fong Tianyi was a little embarrassed that Qin Sheng could take the initiative to say such words. He said somewhat embarrassedly, "Qin Sheng, don't worry. We can talk about this after I go back and report to the old master. After all, these things are not up to me." Of course, Qin Sheng understood what he meant. He smiled and said thank you, but didn't say anything else. Fong Tianyi didn't stay in the hospital for long and left. Qin Sheng continued to wait anxiously for the result in the hospital, hoping that Gu Jianxin would be safe. While Qin Sheng's side was in complete chaos, He-Yong's side was singing and dancing at this moment. He-Yong and Duan Kai were drinking with Zhao Zheng and chatting happily. Zhao Zheng was the person in charge of this trip to Shenzhen. Whether it was the resources on sixth uncle's side or the subordinates on elder Long's side, they all listened to Zhao Zheng's arrangements. It could be seen how important Zhao Zheng was in He-Yong's heart. How could he not curry favor with Zhao Zheng? Otherwise, how could he face Qin Sheng? Although Zhao Zheng had already patted his chest and said that tonight's task would definitely be completed successfully, He-Yong was still not sure. After all, this time Qin Sheng came to Shenzhen in person, unlike last time when he only sent someone from the Qin family. Moreover, this time Qin Sheng was fully prepared. Since Qin Sheng could force He-Yong into such a desperate situation, it could be seen that Qin Sheng was determined to do this. Therefore, the wine was more or less not enough. Zhao Zheng could feel He-Yong's mood, but he couldn't comfort him. After all, no matter what he said, it would be useless. When it was almost time, Zhao Zheng finally received a call. When he answered the phone, his expression was very calm. Although he knew that he had taken the call, he couldn't see anything strange at all, which made He-Yong and Duan Kai feel even more uncertain. After Zhao Zheng hung up the phone, he looked at He-Yong and Duan Kai. His expression was more like that of a failure. He just looked at them and said nothing. He-Yong was a little panicked. After all, this time he had really cut off his way out. If he couldn't fight against the Qin clan, even with the help of his sixth uncle, Elder Long, then he could only run away as soon as possible because he had completely offended the Qin clan this time. The Qin clan would never forgive him. He-Yong asked with a dead heart, "Lao Zhao, how is it? Say something." Duan Kai also couldn't help asking, "Brother Zhao, did the task fail?" Zhao Zheng was originally joking. Seeing He-Yong and Duan Kai so frightened, he finally couldn't help laughing and said, "It's done." How could the plan he had prepared in person, and it was carried out by Elder Long's trusted subordinates? He-Yong didn't understand what he meant. He asked carefully, "Do you mean that the task has been completed?" Zhao Zheng told the truth this time. "Our plan was so thorough. How could it fail? The two characters have been successfully completed. Xie Herong is already under our control. Gu Jianxin is also in the hospital now. We can celebrate." Ha ha. This time, He-Yong heard it very clearly. His expression instantly changed from a gloomy one to a happy one. He shouted excitedly, "Lao Zhao, really? Brother He, how could I lie to you about this?" Zhao Zheng said proudly. He-Yong didn't think about it anymore. He laughed and said, "Old Zhao, you're really something. You've helped me a lot this time. Come, come, come. Let me toast you. You can drink whatever you want." After that, He-Yong raised his glass and toasted Zhao Zheng directly. Then, he raised his head and drank up. At this time, Duan Kai took out a bank card that he had prepared and handed it to Zhao Zheng. He said, "Brother Zhao, this is a little gift from Boss He. You've all worked hard tonight. It's just 2 million yuan. Please don't think it's too little." Of course, He-Yong would do it. He definitely wouldn't refuse such a small amount of money. Zhao Zheng was a little embarrassed. He said, "How can I accept it? Old Zhao, that's only natural. In the future, I definitely won't mistreat any of you." I definitely can't mistreat you, old Zhao, insisted He Yong. At the same time, he made a promise to Zhao Zheng. Otherwise, why would Zhao Zheng do his best to help them? He would definitely disappoint Zhao Zheng. After all, he could get so many benefits in exchange. Zhao Zheng naturally understood what He Yong meant. He smiled and said, "Then I'll accept it." After Zhao Zheng took the bank card, the three of them burst into laughter at the same time. They clinked glasses again to celebrate. Then, Zhao Zheng asked, "Xie Herong is already under our control. What are you going to do with him?" He Yong had already thought of a solution. He looked at Duan Kai and said, "Lao Duan, go and ask that guy tomorrow. See what he told the Qin family. After we squeeze him dry, we can kill him. After all, he's a scourge." "Brother, I understand," Duan Kai replied in a low voice. Zhao Zheng continued, "The Qin family suffered such a big loss tonight. Next, they will definitely fight back. We need to discuss the next strategy." He Yong didn't care at all. He said, "Lao Zhao, don't worry about it. We'll just drink tonight. We could talk about the rest tomorrow." Zhao Zheng thought about it and agreed. The Qin family's counterattack would not be so fast. At the same time, the same thing happened in Dalian. He Yong and Shenzhen was celebrating. Song Shirshin and Dalian was also celebrating. They had been holding back for a while. Now, they could finally hold their heads up high. Chapter 1066. The busy night finally passed. When dawn arrived, Qin Sheng and Chang Baji finally left the hospital. Gu Jinxin was out of danger. Qin Sheng only left the bodyguards of the Qin family to look after Gu Jinxin. Today, they would inform Gu Jinxin's family to go to Shenzhen. After all, this was what they had to do. Also, they could rest assured that Gu Jinxin's family would accompany him. When Qin Sheng returned to the hotel suite, he was exhausted. So many things had happened one after another last night that he was overwhelmed. The sudden attack by Old Master Long and Sixth Uncle really caught him off guard. But since the crisis had appeared, no matter what happened, they had to face it. They could not just admit defeat, right? In the suite, the others had also returned. They did not rest much last night and looked very tired. But who made such a big thing happen? Hao Lei said with a pale face. "Last night, the Fong family sent a lot of people here. We also followed all kinds of clues to look for Xie Herong. Until now, there is still no news of Xie Herong. He Yong also suddenly disappeared yesterday. Until now, we still haven't found him. It seems that this time they planned for a long time. I guess Xie Herong might have been killed by them." Hearing this, Qin Sheng did not have any reaction. After a few seconds, he said slowly, "If you can't find him, then continue to search until you find him." This time, Qin Sheng was really angry. Hao Lei could also feel Qin Sheng's anger. At this time, he was not Qin Sheng's best friend and did not dare to take himself too seriously. He said with some guilt, "It's all my fault. I didn't think it through. I should blame myself for leaking the information. Qin Sheng, you can punish me as you want." "Now is not the time to talk about this," Qin Sheng said in a low voice. At this time, Fu Rong helped to solve the problem. According to the surveillance video we got, Hyang's people might have followed Gu Jinxin to find Xie Herong. Or maybe they only wanted to kill Gu Jinxin tonight, but accidentally found Xie Herong, which led to Xie Herong being kidnapped. "We must take revenge," He Wei said, gritting his teeth. Qin Sheng glanced at He Wei and said, "You tell me, how should we do it?" "The old master will send reinforcements to Shenzhen. At that time, we can directly take action. Since He Yong dares to play hard, then we will play even harder than him," He Wei said bluntly. The old master had already sent people to Shenzhen, and they should be on a plane now. At that time, they would not be short of manpower. Qin Sheng snorted and said, "Do I need you to teach me what to do?" He Wei did not dare to say anything more. Fu Rong also stopped him from saying anything more. After all, this was the Qin family's matter. Qin Sheng had his own considerations. "I'll let you go back and rest first. I'll tell you what to do when the time comes," Qin Sheng said as he stood up tiredly. Everyone didn't say anything else. After a busy night, they were indeed a little tired. It was just that no one could sleep at this time. Who knew what He Yong would do? Besides, they were also suppressing their anger and wanted to vent it on He Yong. After Qin Sheng finished speaking, he went straight back to his room to rest. He was indeed a little tired and did not want to think too much. He would think about it after he woke up. When Qin Sheng woke up, it was already past 10 o'clock. In fact, Qin Sheng did not sleep for long. It was only slightly more than 3 hours. Qin Sheng turned his phone to silent mode before going to bed. When he woke up, he saw that there were many missed calls and messages. The first one Qin Sheng saw was Old Mastery's call. He took the initiative to call him back. After greeting him politely, he said, "Old Master, have you heard about what happened in Shenzhen?" "Old Master," he said calmly. "Yes, He Wei and the others told me last night. They were more or less worried about your situation, so don't blame them." Qin Sheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. "I'll let you see a joke. This time, I was too careless and let He Yong and the others take advantage of the loophole." "Old Master," he sneered and said, "if you always walk by the river, your shoes will always get wet. It's not your fault. Who would have thought that Old Six and Old Long would suddenly use He Yong to attack the Qin family at this time? It seems that they are ashamed into anger." Qin Sheng frowned and said, "Old Master, how do you know that it was Old Six and the others who supported He Yong?" "Old Master," he said calmly, "other than them, I really can't think of anyone else. They're the only ones who have this ability." Qin Sheng laughed and said, "That's true. Now you'd better think about what to do. At this time, you should be short of manpower. I have already sent people to Shenzhen to help you. They should have already gotten off the plane. They will completely follow your orders. I hope you can turn the situation around as soon as possible." Old Master, he could only do this. After all, he could not directly fight against Old Long. Moreover, it was not the right time yet. Qin Sheng nodded silently and said, "Old Master, thank you for your help." After hanging up the call with Old Long, Gong Sun called again. As soon as the call was connected, Gong Sun said directly, "I have already told Sister Zhao and Ran about what happened last night. Now they are most worried about your safety. So they hope that you can return to Beijing as soon as possible. Temporarily put aside the matter in Shenzhen. When Sixth Uncle and Old Long are busy, the Qin family will take action at that time. Regardless of whether it is He Yong or Song Shixin, they will be at a dead end." Qin Sheng frowned and said, "At this time, it is impossible for me to leave Shenzhen." Gong Sun smiled helplessly and said, "Qin Sheng, it is useless to tell me these things. You'd better tell Sister Zhao and Ran. After all, Qin Sheng was the backbone of the Qin family. If he fell, the Qin family would really collapse." Qin Sheng thought for a moment and said, "Then let's have a meeting." Half an hour later, Qin Sheng simply washed up and the family meeting of the Qin family was held again. As soon as the video started, Qin Ran asked eagerly, "Qin Sheng, are you okay?" On the other side of the video, Zhao Anji also looked at Qin Sheng with concern. Qin Sheng shook his head and said, "Auntie sister, do I look like I am okay?" Qin Ran went straight to the point and said, "Whether you are okay or not, you should go back to Beijing as soon as possible. It is too dangerous in Shenzhen. No one dares to do anything to you in Beijing." Now his grandmother and uncle were both in Beijing. Moreover, Qin Sheng was engaged to Ruyu. At this time, who dared to do anything to Qin Sheng? Qin Sheng said calmly, "Sister, don't worry. Even if I am in Shenzhen, nothing will happen to me. They don't have the guts to do that. They just want to discuss the Qin family." Qin Ran insisted, "I don't care. You must listen to me this time." Qin Sheng shook his head and replied, "Sister, let's not talk about this first. Let's talk about what we should do about the things in Shenzhen and Dalian. After all, such a big thing has happened. If we suddenly give up halfway, all our previous efforts will be in vain. Not only will He Yong and Song Shixin get carried away, but others will also laugh at us." Qin Ran still wanted to insist on asking Qin Sheng to go back to Beijing. At this time, Zhao Anji said, "Qin Sheng, tell me, what do you want to do?" Qin Sheng squinted and said, "Ungrateful people like He Yong and Song Shixin will not give up until they see the coffin. If we don't deal with them, they will become hidden dangers sooner or later. Moreover, now is the best time for us to deal with them. After this stage, we don't know when." "Gong Sun, what do you think?" Zhao Anji looked at Gong Sun and asked. After all, Gong Sun had been in the Qin family for so many years. To be honest, in this aspect, he might have a clearer view. Gong Sun said thoughtfully, I agree with Qin Sheng's opinion. Although we were stopped this time, these counterattacks are not a big deal. As long as we really want to deal with them, even Sixth Uncle and the others can't stop us. After all, they have been working for the Qin family all these years. So many things are in the Qin family's hands. As long as we follow the legal procedures, we can make them die without a burial place. Qin Sheng did not expect that Uncle Gong Sun also agreed with him. It seemed that the situation in Dalian was similar to that in Shenzhen. These people dared to take such risks because they had no other way. Even with Sixth Uncle's help, they could not hold on for long. If the thing in Beijing broke out, Sixth Uncle would not be able to take care of himself. How could he help them? Therefore, as long as they dragged on, because once the thing in Beijing broke out, Sixth Uncle would definitely be the first to be affected. But the Qin family still had some time. This was the Qin family's opportunity. As long as they dragged on, they could win. Since you all think so, I won't say anything more. I will send someone to help you. As for other things in Beijing, I will also keep an eye on them. I hope everything goes well for you. Zhao Anji still considered the problem from the Qin family's point of view. Qin Ran was a little anxious. Auntie, do you really want to do this? Ran, if we can't even handle these things, what can we do in the future? Zhao Anji said in a deep voice. Since things had come to this, she could not change it. At this time, Qin Sheng said, Auntie, Gu Jianxin is still in a coma. We need a new person in charge in Shenzhen. Ask Aunt Chong and Uncle how to choose a new person. I must check the accounts in Shenzhen. Even if there is a 100 yuan difference, I will blame it on He Yong. Okay, I will discuss it with them. Zhao Anji nodded and agreed. The family meeting ended. After all, the Qin family was a big family. If they were defeated by such a small problem, the Qin family would be too weak. Moreover, if Qin Chang'an was there, these things would not be a problem. While Qin Sheng was holding the video conference with the Qin family, Fang Tianai had already returned to Guangzhou from Shenzhen early in the morning. With such a sudden change in the situation in Shenzhen, how could Fang Tianai not rush back to discuss the countermeasures with the old master? This matter was no longer something he could decide. Although he also wanted to help Qin Sheng, he also had to consider the future of the Fang family. Who would be willing to offend a big figure like Sixth Uncle? When Fang Tianai returned to the Fang family manor, old Master Fang was waiting for him in the garden. The old master was trimming his flowers and plants. Fang Tianai did not disturb him. Since he was already back, he did not care about a little longer. Chapter 1067. The Fang family had experienced what the Qin family did in Shenzhen before. As a big family with hundreds of years of history, they had seen all kinds of storms. However, the background of those people they had experienced before was limited to the big families in the Lingen area. They had never had a strong background like the Sixth Uncle. Even if the Sixth Uncle's ability had reached Sizhou City, the Fang family had connections in this area, so they could solve the problem reasonably. But this time it was different. The Sixth Uncle was not someone the Fang family could afford to offend. The Fang family cooperated with the Qin family because of the Qin family's background, which could help the Fang family break through the bottleneck. But if they offended the Sixth Uncle for such a result, the foundation of the Fang family would be shaken, which was not worth the loss. Therefore, Fang Tianai couldn't wait to come back and discuss the countermeasures with the old master. In fact, Fang Tianai had thought about the final result. There were only 3 possibilities. The first possibility was that the Fang family would immediately draw a line with the Qin family. Anyway, they didn't know the relationship between the Qin family and the Sixth Uncle, so they wouldn't offend the Sixth Uncle if they withdrew at this time. Moreover, the Qin family could understand. After all, the relationship between the Fang family and the Qin family hadn't reached the point where they would go through thick and thin together. The Fang family couldn't offend the Sixth Uncle for the Qin family, and the Fang family didn't have the ability to offend the Sixth Uncle. The second possibility was that the Fang family would continue to cooperate with the Qin family in business. As for the matter between the Qin family and He Yong, the Fong family wouldn't continue to participate. After all, the Fong family didn't have the sixth uncle as a special factor. They didn't have to worry about He Yong, but they had to make a choice when it came to the sixth uncle. The Qin family could understand this. The third possibility was that the Fong family didn't care about the sixth uncle's existence and continued to support the Qin family without hesitation. If the sixth uncle targeted the Fong family, the Qin family had to help the Fong family get through the crisis. The advantage of this was that after this incident, the relationship between the Qin family and the Fong family would be very close. In the future, the Fong family and the Qin family would also become real friends. At that time, the Fong family could gradually gain a foothold in Sijio City through the Qin family. The worst-case scenario was that the Qin family would lose and the Fong family would lose as well. At that time, sixth uncle would take the time to deal with the Fong family, and the Fong family would never be able to recover. If it was up to Fong Tianai to decide, he would probably choose the second option, which was the most suitable choice for the Fong family. After all, he felt that the first option was too direct and could not be done. Otherwise, the relationship that he had worked so hard to establish with the Qin family would be broken. As for the last possibility, it was only an ideal situation. The Fong family would not take this risk. Unfortunately, Fong Tianai did not have the right to decide. The real decision was in the hands of the old man. He had already reported to the old man, but the old man did not seem to be in a hurry. He continued trimming his plants, which made Fong Tianai unable to guess what the old man was thinking. He could only find a parasol to sit down and ask the servant to bring him a glass of fruit juice. Since the old man wasn't anxious, then he wasn't anxious either. About 10 minutes later, the old man finished his chores. After throwing the scissors in his hand to the housekeeper, he walked over slowly. The servant of the Fong family brought him a glass of water in a hurry and told the old man to drink the medicine first. The old man drank the medicine unhurriedly. Fong Tianai just looked at the old man. Old man. After the old man drank the medicine, Fong Tianai said, "Old man, are you really not anxious? Or are you really not anxious? I ran back in a hurry, and you're still here cleaning up the plants? I only let you wait for 10 minutes. Look at you, you are so flustered. How many times have I told you that you must be calm when you encounter something big? Besides, these things are not decided by the Fong family. If the Qin family is not anxious, why should the Fong family be anxious?" Old Master Fong glanced at his ignorant and incompetent son and snorted. Fong Tianai was not willing to talk nonsense. He never liked to talk nonsense. He said directly, "Dad, just give me an idea. What should the Fong family do next? Tell me first. What do you want to do?" Old Master Fong looked at his second son and said. Fong Tianai thought for a while and said, "Dad, I'll tell you the truth. I've thought about it. The Fong family wanted to make friends with the Qin family for the future development of the Fong family. We didn't want the Fong family to be limited to the Lingnan area, so we cooperated with the Qin family. But suddenly, the Qin family and the sixth uncle are fighting. We can't change our foundation for the development of the Fong family. We can't offend the sixth uncle at all. Therefore, we can either draw a clear line with the Qin family. What we did to help the Qin family was already within our ability, or we can stop caring about He Yong and only cooperate with the Qin family. Anyway, we have done what we should do. I think the Qin family and Qin Sheng can understand. After all, we don't have the ability to do that." After hearing this, Old Master Fong said directly, "I thought you and Qin Sheng got along well and would choose to help the Qin family. Dad, although I admire Qin Sheng, I have to consider the interests of the Fong family, right?" Fong Tianai said honestly. Old Master Fong frowned and said, "Is there no other way?" After hearing this, Fong Tianai was stunned for a few seconds. He did not understand what Old Master Fong meant. What other way? Did Old Master Fong have other ways? However, he had thought of all the ways that he could think of. Could it be that it was not possible? After thinking of this, Fong Tianai asked directly, "Old man, you won't help the Qin family, will you?" Old Master Fong laughed and said, "Why can't I help them?" Fong Tianai said in shock, "I say, old man, Our Fong family is no match for sixth uncle. If he really wants to deal with us, our Fong family will be miserable. You know his relationship with that family. At that time, even if he doesn't take action directly, that family will make our Fong family suffer. Old Master Fong said disapprovingly, "If you can think of it, why can't I?" Fong Tianai was a little confused and replied, "Dad, my dear father, just tell me, why do you want to do this?" Old Master Fong said slowly, "Second brother, if you don't plan for the overall situation, you won't be able to plan for the moment. The Fong family has a good relationship with the Qin family. If we don't try our best, the Fong family will have to make new plans. But if we help the Qin family this time, the Fong family will be friends with the Qin family for generations. At that time, the Fong family will earn a lot." Fong Tianai shook his head and said, "Just tell me why." "Of course I know." Old Master Fong said, "How can I not know what happened between the Qin family and the sixth uncle? They were allies, but they didn't know why they fought. In the end, the Qin family was kicked out of the Chong and system. Qin Sheng's father was also arrested, and the Chong and system became the sixth uncles. However, what happened in Beijing a few days ago showed that it was just a facade. After the sixth uncle took control of the Chong and system, the Chong and system was officially investigated. This time, the sixth uncle might not be able to get through this. At this time, supporting He Yong to make things difficult for the Qin family is just to disgust the Qin family. What can they do to the Qin family?" Old Master Fong laughed and said. After that, Old Master Fong continued, "But don't forget how powerful the Qin family is. Don't forget that the current owner of the Qin family is Qin Sheng. Behind Qin Sheng is the Zhu family, which is like the sun at high noon. Aren't sixth uncle and the others afraid of the Zhu family? What's more, Qin Sheng's fiancée is a woman from the Song family. So the Qin family can't get through. Even if the Qin family falls, Qin Sheng still can't get through. We are suppressing Qin Sheng, not the Qin family. We are suppressing the Qin family in the future, not the current Qin family. Do you understand?" After hearing what Old Master Fong said, Fong Tianai suddenly understood and said, "Dad, you are thinking long-term." Old Master Fong continued, "As for the danger you mentioned, we don't need to worry about it. The sixth uncle can't spare time to deal with us, and he won't take us seriously. What's more, we only need to do our best to deal with the Qin family. We don't need to worry about other things. The Qin family won't let us take risks. As for that family, we don't need to talk about it. The Qin family has some connections with them. They won't get involved in this. Besides, they have been deliberately keeping a low profile in the past 2 years. They don't want to attract attention, so they won't stand out." Old Master Fong continued. After hearing what he said, Fong Tianai said directly, "Dad, do you mean that the Fong family should support the Qin family no matter what and try to improve our relationship with the Qin family? If we don't do it now, when will we?" Old Master Fong chuckled. Fong Tianai was still a little worried and said, "Dad, what if? What if?" Old Master Fong shook his head and said, "If that happens, we can only blame it on our bad luck. Besides, the children and grandchildren have their own fortune. You are still young. The Fong family still has a chance to rise. As long as the Qin family can rise, the Fong family still has a chance. Even if the Qin family can't rise, the Fong family has so many resources overseas. How can we not rise?" Fong Tianai gritted his teeth and said, "Dad, since you have made up your mind, let's take a gamble. If we lose, we can start all over again. If we win, your son can expand the Fong family's business to Suzhou City." Old Master Fong said calmly, "I hope I can see in my lifetime." At this time, Fong Tianai directly stood up and said, "Dad, I have to go back to Shenzhen now. Qin Sheng needs me as an ally now. I can't let him down." Old Master Fong waved his hand and said, "Go." The Fong family has been operating in Shenzhen for so many years. It's time to use our connections. After hearing what Old Master Fong said, Fong Tianai felt more confident. He directly stood up and left, rushing back to Shenzhen. After Fong Tianai left in a hurry, Grand Elder Fong fell into deep thought with a smile. Before Fong Tianai returned, he had already made up his mind. If a large family didn't even have this little bit of courage, then they would be abandoned sooner or later. Chapter 1068. Throughout the ages, dynasties would rise and fall, not to mention ordinary families. Be it the Qin family or the Feng family, they would encounter crises and opportunities. For example, the Qin family was in danger this time, but it was an opportunity for the Feng family. Therefore, the Feng family wanted to take a gamble this time. Because no matter which big family, if they wanted to stand strong for 100 years, they had to dig deep. The deeper the foundation, the harder it was to fall. The Feng family's foundation was still too shallow, especially in the country. Most of them had already gone to Europe, America, or Southeast Asia. The only thing that could help the Feng family was financially. However, it was too difficult to let the Feng family enter the circle of Sijio City. After all, they all wanted to have a firm foothold there. Therefore, after the incident this time, Old Master Feng had already weighed the pros and cons. No matter what happened to the Qin family in the past, the Qin family now, or the things that the Qin family might encounter in the future, Old Master Feng had reviewed them all and made corresponding predictions. As for the sixth uncle, Old Master Feng would not ignore his existence. Sixth uncle's side was already nearing its end. Most people in that circle relied on the glory of their fathers to enjoy their lives. However, as time progressed, these imprints would gradually disappear. The Qin family's crisis this time was, in fact, a crisis for most of them. But the Qin family was different. The Qin family might make Qin Chang'an settle with the former Qin family because of this incident, and the new Qin family would be represented by Qin Sheng. Behind Qin Sheng were the Zhu family and the Song family. Therefore, no matter what the outcome of this incident was, the Qin family would continue to exist. And Qin Sheng's future achievements would definitely not be low, because Old Master Feng had already made a judgment about Qin Sheng. This was the reason why Old Master Feng finally decided to take a gamble this time. If he won, the Feng family would go one step further. If he lost, the Feng family would just lie dormant. In an old and dilapidated factory in Longgang District, Shenzhen, Xie Herong was directly brought here by several of Old Master Long's subordinates. He had been beaten badly. This was all He Yong's order, who asked Xie Herong to cooperate with the Qin family. Otherwise, how could the Qin family's audit progress be so fast? Last night, after Zhao Zheng drank with He Yong and Duan Kai, he had a good time. He Yong arranged for two beauties with outstanding temperament for Zhao Zheng. Men like these kinds of things. Zhao Zheng was not a stubborn person. He followed sixth uncle because he wanted status, money, and beauties, right? He Yong couldn't give Zhao Zheng a position, but he could give Zhao Zheng money and beautiful women. As long as he served Zhao Zheng well, Zhao Zheng would work for him. After all, sixth uncle knew what to do, and what to do would be completely up to Zhao Zheng. What Zhao Zheng needed to do today was to use his connections in Beijing to get the banks to withdraw their loans to He Yong. As long as this problem was solved, He Yong's situation would be much better. After that, they would also solve He Yong's other problems, such as the matter with the Chaos Han Chamber of Commerce. They could use their connections to pressure the big shots of the Chaos Han Chamber of Commerce, or they could directly force He Yong to sell the shares of the project to others. But now he had to solve the problem of Xie Herong, so Duan Kai personally came to solve the problem. When he came over, he smiled and greeted Elder Long's trusted subordinates. "Thank you for your hard work. Leave this to us. You can go back and have a rest. I've arranged everything in Shenzhen. I hope you can have a good time." "Mr. Duan, you're too polite," the middle-aged man said with a smile. They were just here to deal with the problem and did not know the details of He Yong's side. That was not their concern. After a simple handover, Elder Long's subordinates left directly. Xie Herong walked towards Xie Herong with two absolutely reliable confidants. Xie Herong, who had been tortured to the point of not sleeping for the whole night, was in a coma. Duan Kai's confidant directly splashed a basin of cold water on him. Xie Herong woke up in a daze. When he opened his eyes and saw Duan Kai in front of him, he was instantly scared out of his wits. He quickly begged for mercy and said, "Brother Duan, I really didn't say anything. Please forgive me. I didn't say anything." Although Xie Herong was timid, he was very smart. If he really told Duan Kai what they said, he would only be left with a dead end. Lao Xie, you really didn't say anything? Duan Kai asked with a smile. Xie Herong hurriedly replied, I swear, I really didn't say anything. How dare I betray Mr. He? They kidnapped me and held me in that villa. I really didn't say anything. We've known each other for so many years. You have to believe me. Duan Kai squatted in front of Xie Herong and said, Lao Xie, I believe you, but Mr. He doesn't believe you. Hearing this, Xie Herong was a little flustered. He knew He Yong's means, so he hurriedly begged for mercy. Brother Duan, please let me see Mr. He. I will explain to him. He will definitely believe me. Brother Duan, please. Lao Xie, at this time, you are still so stubborn. I trusted you so much. I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. Do you really think that we don't know what information you have leaked to the Qin family? Don't forget that the Shenzhen company has been under Mr. He's control for so many years. It's very simple if we really want to know. Moreover, what about your parents, your wife and children, and the Qin family? How are you going to explain it? The more Xie Herong listened, the more flustered he became. He hurriedly said, Brother Duan, I don't know. I really don't know. Duan Kai said helplessly, Lao Xie, I can't help you. I have no choice. The only thing I can do is to protect your wife and children. Don't blame me. Brother Duan, please, I don't want to die. I really don't want to die. Xie Herong was at a loss. He had never thought that he would be involved in such a thing. He was just an ordinary professional manager. Why did he have to pay such a price? Duan Kai was too lazy to say anything more. He just casually said, send him to hell. After that, Duan Kai left. He knew how his two confidants would deal with Xie Herong. At that time, he only needed to take a look at Xie Herong's body to make sure that Xie Herong was really dead. Then he could go back and report to his family. As long as Xie Herong died, the Qin family's connection with the Qin family would be broken. Even if they used the accounts of these years to deal with Mr. He, it would not be solved in a short time. Moreover, they had the help of sixth uncle and old Long. How could Mr. He lose? In the afternoon, when Qin Sheng woke up from his nap, the Qin family had already sent the latest person in charge to Shenzhen. This time, the Qin family was obviously determined to deal with He Yong. The person who came to Shenzhen was none other than Hao Mingyi. When Qin Sheng heard the news, he was stunned for a few seconds. He did not expect that the Qin family would send Uncle Hao to Shenzhen. This was a bit too risky, but he could also see the Qin family's determination. When Qin Sheng came out of the suite, Hao Mingyi was drinking coffee on the sofa. Qin Sheng hurriedly greeted him. Uncle Hao, when did you arrive? You didn't tell me at home. I even went to the airport to pick you up. Hao Mingyi was dressed casually. Unlike the suits and leather shoes that Qin Sheng usually saw, he and Chang Sini were the real confidants of the Qin family. These years, they had contributed a lot to the Qin family, but they did not walk the same path as He Yong, Song Shixin, and Bao Fan. No matter what happened to the Qin family in the end, the Qin family would not treat them badly. The most important thing was that after Qin Sheng took over Qin Chang'an's position, they did not ignore him. Instead, they made up their minds to assist him. Therefore, even if the Qin family was eliminated from the Chang and system, they still led their team to continue to serve the Qin family without hesitation, which made the Qin family very happy. Of course, they knew the Qin family's background better than anyone else. They also knew the power behind the Qin family, and they were even more aware of Qin Sheng's future achievements. If Qin Sheng, who was already engaged to the Song family and had the support of the Zhu family in Beijing, could still ruin this good hand, then Qin Sheng's level was really too low. They could only cultivate Qin Ran and Qin Jing. Why can't I come to Shenzhen? So many things happened last night. You were so tired in Shenzhen, so I didn't ask them to inform you. Anyway, I happened to be resting, Hao Mingyi said with a smile. When he looked at Qin Sheng, his eyes were very kind. He had high hopes for Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng still said with hidden bitterness, no matter how big the problem in Shenzhen is, I can't let you come here. Just send someone else. Besides, is Shenzhen so dangerous now? Hao Mingyi said disapprovingly. What's so dangerous? I'm already this old. What haven't I experienced? Besides, you're in Shenzhen. Why can't I come here? Besides, there's nothing going on in Beijing now. Those assets are almost handled. It's just a matter of going through the procedures. Your Aunt Chong and the others are enough. Besides, aren't your Annie and Ran here? I can also help you relieve some pressure in Shenzhen. Qin Sheng was very emotional and said, Uncle Hao, I really troubled you this time. Hao Mingyi said with a smile, It's not troublesome. Isn't it for the Qin family? It's also something that I should do. Okay, let's not talk about this. Why are we so polite? I just came to see you. Seeing that you're fine, I can report to Ran. Next, leave the company's affairs to me. You handle other things. Let's solve these problems as soon as possible and then go back to Beijing. Qin Sheng nodded heavily. Hao Mingyi slowly stood up and sighed. Then I'll leave first. I'll go to the hospital to see Gu Jinxin. After all, he was poached by me. Who knew that this would happen? Qin Sheng said politely. Then I'll see you off. I'll welcome you in the evening. After seeing Hao Mingyi off, Qin Sheng returned to the suite. He looked at Lao Chong and directly said, Lao Chong, call He Wei and Fu Rong and ask them to protect Uncle Hao for the next 24 hours. Nothing can go wrong. Chong Baji heard this and immediately nodded. Of course, he knew how important Hao Mingyi was. If Hao Mingyi had an accident in Shenzhen, it would be a great loss to the Qin family. The Qin family sent Hao Mingyi here, which meant that they hoped to quickly solve the problem in Shenzhen. After all, the Qin family was racing against time. Chapter 1069. In Ningbo, in the Li Huili Hospital of Ningbo University. It was the best public comprehensive hospital in Ningbo, which was donated by Mr. Li Huili, a famous Hong Kong businessman, and invested by the Ningbo municipal government. At this moment, in the operating room of the hospital, a race against death was going on. The authoritative experts of the hospital were in charge of this operation. They were under great pressure because they all knew the special identity of this patient. Otherwise, the main leaders of the hospital would not have given such an order. Outside the operating room, a group of well-dressed men and women were waiting anxiously because no one knew the result. This group of men and women was none other than the immediate descendants of the Lin family in Ningbo. The old lady of the Lin family was being rescued in the operating room. Her condition suddenly deteriorated this morning, and she fell into a coma. Then she was directly sent to the operating room for rescue. There was no result until now. Lin Changhe's wife, Lin Yu, held her daughter in her arms and comforted her. It's okay. Grandma will be fine. Lin Yu had been accompanying her grandma in the hospital since she came back from the United States. She was afraid that something bad would happen to her grandma. Although everyone in the Lin family had told her that her grandma would die soon, Lin Yu still believed that her grandma would be fine until something unexpected happened last night. Lin Yu looked tired and cried several times. If something bad happened to her grandma, she didn't know how to tell her sister. What would her sister do then? Lin Yu was sure that she would come back, and no one could stop her. Mom, I'm scared. Lin Yu was a little scared. At this time, Lin Changhe walked over and said, No, take Ye to the lounge first. I'll call you if something happens here. Dad, I won't go. I won't go anywhere. I'll stay here with my grandma. Lin Yu insisted. Lin Changhe's wife said softly, Ye, listen to me. Grandma will be fine. Lin Changhe did not pay attention to Lin Yu anymore. He walked slowly to the front of his elder brother, Lin Changting. The two brothers looked at each other in dismay. They both had a bad premonition. However, nobody could stop birth, aging, sickness, and death. They also wanted the old lady to live to a ripe old age. Is everything ready at home? Lin Changting asked in a low voice. They had prepared for the worst. If it was the worst result, they had to do it. Lin Changhe let out a long sigh as he said, I've already arranged everything. I hope our mother will be fine. At this age, these things will happen sooner or later. Instead of suffering in the hospital, perhaps it is also a blessing to be free. Lin Changting was very open-minded. However, if the worst happened, of course, he would also be very miserable. Lin Changting was very open-minded. Lin Changhe didn't know what to say. After all, the doctor had already said that the old lady wouldn't live long, so they asked their children and grandchildren to come back to see the old lady. The old lady had seen everything she needed to see, so she had no regrets. Of course, she hadn't seen her granddaughter, who she loved the most. If the old lady really couldn't handle it this time, then there was no other way. The old lady would leave with regret, and Lin Su would also regret it for the rest of her life. There are always so many regrets in life. The operation had been going on for 4 hours, but there was still no result. Everyone began to worry and think of the worst. An hour later, the door of the operating theater was finally pushed open from the inside. The two chief surgeons slowly walked out. They looked very tired. At this time, the Lin family immediately surrounded them. "Doctor, how is it? Doctor, how's my grandma? Doctor, is she okay?" "Of course she will be okay. Grandma is very lucky." Everyone couldn't wait to ask the doctors, but the two doctors didn't know what to say. Although they were used to this kind of scene, every time they faced a patient's family, they didn't know how to announce the result because no one could bear this pain. At this time, Lin Chongting said, "Dr. Liang, just say it. We are already mentally prepared." The chief surgeon, Dr. Liang, said slowly, "Mr. Lin, sorry, we tried our best." Hearing this, Lin Chongting's mind instantly went blank. Although he said he was mentally prepared, who didn't want to hear a good result? After all, this was his biological mother who gave birth to and raised him for so many years. How could he bear to leave her? Then, the outside of the operating theater instantly became a mess. No one believed that this would be the result. Some people fainted, some people cried, some people were at a loss, and some people were silent. Beijing. Sixth uncle was in his villa in Shuani. He had no time to care about what happened in Shenzhen and Dalian, because he knew that these things were nothing more than to disgust the Qin family. It was impossible to hurt the Qin family at all, so he just left it to his subordinates. Now, what they should pay most attention to was the progress of the Chong and group. Many things gradually began to ferment, which made Sixth Uncle feel more and more pressure. Just a moment ago, he received a call saying that the joint investigation team had frozen the related company accounts of the Chong and group shareholders. These companies directly held the Chong and group's shares, which were also the holding companies of these shareholders. They were so fast and so direct that they were somewhat at a loss. Then, the next thing they had to face was the problem of the capital chain. Once these companies were investigated and the related accounts were frozen, their funds would definitely be in trouble. This time, they spent a lot of energy to raise funds to buy the Chong Group shares held by the Qin family. Many of these acquisition funds were borrowed from banks, some were borrowed from related companies, and some were raised from other consortiums. Once the outside world found out about this, they would really be finished. It was estimated that it would not be long before the source of their funds was investigated. At that time, all aspects would be involved. Sixth Uncle was not the only one who was nervous. The Su family and Zhe Yuan were completely panicked. Even the other shareholders did not know what to do at this time. Who would have thought that things would get to this point? Now, how should they face it? As for Elder Long's side, Elder Long was also involved in this matter. After all, Elder Long was behind all these funds. However, how did Elder Long get the funds? After all, the central bank was not opened by Elder Long's family. Elder Long had thought of various ways to raise such a large amount of funds. Therefore, they were bound together for good or bad. Therefore, Zhe Yuan and the eldest brother of the Su family had to visit Sixth Uncle again. Sixth Uncle felt a headache when he saw them, because he did not expect that things would go beyond his imagination. Sixth Uncle, say something. What should we do now? If we keep investigating like this, no one will be able to protect us. Zhe Yuan shouted dejectedly. The pressure within the family was increasing, and he was already unable to bear it. After all, he had been the one responsible for all of this in the past. The eldest brother of the Su family also frowned and said, "Sixth brother, if this goes on, we will all be finished." "How can I not know what you are talking about?" Sixth Uncle said unhurriedly. "Aren't I thinking of a way?" The eldest brother of the Su family asked, "Sixth brother, what's the situation with Elder Long? If something happens to us, he won't be able to escape. Are we just going to wait to be caught?" Elder Long, is already taking action. I have also contacted a lot of people. Now we at least have to figure out what the higher-ups want. Otherwise, the more we struggle, the more they will dislike us. Now, don't be afraid of anything. You should also do what you need to do. One more way is one more choice. Sixth uncle could only say so. At this time, Zhe Yuan panicked and said, "Sixth uncle, if you really can't do it, you can go to see that person. In this way, we will be more confident. It's not the time yet. If it really can't be done, I will definitely go." Sixth uncle's face changed slightly. If it really came to that, many things might not be able to be changed. However, sixth uncle still had to continue to bear it. He did not believe that this time the movement would be so big. Wasn't he afraid of the outside world? Shenzhen. Qinsheng still did not know what had happened in Ningbo and Beijing. Now, what he was most worried about was what had happened in Shenzhen and Dalian. Now that Hao Mingyi was in charge of the company in Shenzhen, Qinsheng did not have to worry about anything at all. With Hao Mingyi's ability, it was more than enough to deal with the matters of the company in Shenzhen. However, when Qinsheng was about to fight back, Fang Tianai, who had just rushed back from Guangzhou, ran directly to the hotel to find Qinsheng. That was because at this time, what Qinsheng needed most was reinforcements. With Old Master's words, Fang Tianai had no worries and could fight side by side with Qinsheng. Therefore, as soon as they met, Fang Tianai said directly, "I just came back from Guangzhou." Qinsheng did not understand what Fang Tianai meant. He laughed and said, "Brother Fang, you don't have to tell me that you went back to Guangzhou, do you?" Fang Tianai laughed and said, "Why didn't you ask me what I went back to Guangzhou for?" Qinsheng seemed to have guessed something, but he did not say it directly. He asked, "What did you go to Guangzhou for?" Fang Tianai said honestly, "I have reported what happened last night to Old Master. I went back to Guangzhou to discuss countermeasures with him. After all, you know that there are some things that I can't decide on, so I have to discuss with Old Master." At this time, Qinsheng already understood what Fang Tianai meant. The sixth uncle's sudden intervention made Fang Tianai somewhat at a loss. The Fang family might not know the relationship between the sixth uncle and the Qin family. Now that the sixth uncle suddenly supported Heyong, if the Fang family still helped the Qin family, they would definitely offend the sixth uncle. Therefore, Fang Tianai ran back to Guangzhou. Qinsheng said calmly, "Brother Fang, there are some things that I can understand. I don't want to drag the Fang family into this. After all, it is the sixth uncle we are facing this time." He could already guess the Fang family's decision and thought that Fang Tianai wanted to explain it. Fang Tianai laughed and said, "Qinsheng, how do you know what will happen to the Fang family?" Qinsheng was very surprised. He said thoughtfully, "Brother Fang, I don't understand what you mean." Fang Tianai did not want to keep Qinsheng in suspense. He said directly, "Qinsheng, Old Master said that this time, the Fang family will attack and defend the Qin family together. We will never back down." Chapter 1070. After the accident last night, Qinsheng told Fang Tianai the truth without hiding anything. Qinsheng didn't only treat the Fang family and Fang Tianai as business partners. Although most people started with benefits, they would feel who could be friends and who could only be business partners. Obviously, the Fang family and Fang Tianai were the former, so Qinsheng wanted to go further with them. At least when the Qin family was dealing with the assets of the company in Shenzhen, they still needed the Fang family as a friend. Moreover, a friend like Fang Tianai fit Qinsheng's taste very well. If Fang Tianai wasn't like this, Qinsheng might only treat him as an elder and wouldn't have too much contact with him. Even if he took the initiative to make friends, Qinsheng would have all kinds of reasons to refuse. However, Qinsheng didn't do that. Since they were friends, Qinsheng wouldn't hide anything and wouldn't force the Fang family to get involved. After all, they were facing the sixth uncle this time. The Fang family didn't have the ability to offend the sixth uncle. Therefore, Qinsheng took the initiative to tell the truth, hoping that the Fang family would back out. Naturally, he wouldn't think too much about it. No matter what the Fang family decided, it would be reasonable. After all, the Fang family had many things to consider. They couldn't sacrifice the future of the whole family just to cooperate with the Qin family. However, what Qin Sheng didn't expect was that the Fong family actually made such a decision, which was beyond his expectation. Fong Tianai also said that this was a decision made by the Fong family after discussion, not his personal decision. After all, he didn't have the right to decide these things, so he went back to Guangzhou to discuss it with old Master Fong as soon as possible. Anyway, Qin Sheng was more or less touched that the Fong family could make such a decision. Not every family dared to continue to support Qin Sheng at this time, because they were facing the powerful sixth uncle. Therefore, Qin Sheng was very relieved. At least he didn't misjudge the Fong family. No matter what happened in the future, he would remember this kindness. Brother Fong, I know the Fong family wants to help me. I appreciate your kindness, but this time the Qin family is facing the sixth uncle. The Fong family doesn't need to get involved in this mess, Qin Sheng said after coming to himself. Fong Tianai didn't expect Qin Sheng to say this. Maybe it was a polite refusal, but Fong Tianai insisted. Qin Sheng, what do you mean? Are you looking down on the Fong family? Since our head promised you to take care of Yong, we can't just give up halfway. Although sixth uncle's appearance has brought about many changes, the Fong family won't abandon you. That's not how the Fong family conducts themselves. Qin Sheng could tell that Fong Tianya's words were not insincere or polite. He said directly, Brother Fong, I've decided to be friends with the Fong family. In the future, as long as there is a chance, the Qin family will definitely continue to cooperate with the Fong family. Qin Tianai Fong's Fong is one. Fong he Qin Shun, Fong family is Fong. Qin Tu Sheng 1 T Fong. If you wanted to go to Beijing and quarrel with sixth uncle, I definitely don't have that ability. However, in Guangdong and Shenzhen, our Fong family still has some ability. Now is the time when you need help. Our Fong family must go all out. As for whether or not we can offend sixth uncle, that's a matter for later. In the future, even if sixth uncle turned around and deals with the Fong family, I think the Qin family won't sit back and do nothing, right? Qin and I are not that kind of people. Even if it's not sixth uncle, we will do our best to help. We will do our best to help. Fong Tianai took the opportunity to say, look, you even said that. Obviously, you also regard the Fong family as your friend. Then the Fong family will definitely help you this time. Obviously, no matter what Qin Sheng said, the Fong family would help the Qin family this time. Qin Sheng was lost in thought. After a long time, he said, Fong brother, are we really going to do this? We have to. Fong Tianai replied without hesitation. Qin Sheng continued to ask, won't you regret it? No, Fong Tianai said disdainfully. Even the old master dared to make such a decision. He had nothing to be afraid of. Qin Sheng stopped talking and said directly, okay, let's talk about how to deal with Yong. The current situation is, next, Qin Sheng and Fong Tianai talked about business. At present, Qin Sheng did not need to worry about the company. He only needed to protect Hao Mingyi and the team members of the Qin family. They could not let the situation like Gu Jianxin happen again. Otherwise, the whole team would be in a panic, and the confidence of the Qin family would be damaged. Then they would have to face Yong's dirty tricks. Since Yong dared to break the rules, Qin Sheng would not be polite. They would see who was more ruthless. First, find Xie Herong, no matter whether he was dead or alive. Second, start with Yong's trusted subordinates. Third, continue to put pressure on Yong in all aspects, which was equivalent to fighting with sixth uncle. When Qin Sheng and Fong Tianai were planning, Yong had already returned home. The Qin family got the news immediately and reported it to Qin Sheng. They would not let Yong disappear from their eyes again. No matter where Yong went, they would follow him. After Yong came back, he seemed to be in a good mood. His wife's mood was even better. This morning, she had just gone to Wanxiang City to buy a few bags that she liked. Not to mention how impressive it was at that time. The rich ladies in the shop all looked at her with envious eyes. This kind of vanity satisfaction made her enjoy it very much. Not long after Yong sat down, Duan Kai came back to him. As Yong's trusted subordinate, Duan Kai was almost inseparable from him during this period. How is it? Did you handle Xie Herong? Yong asked casually. After Duan Kai sat down, he said slowly, Yes, I have. You can rest assured now. Well, did you get anything from him? Yong nodded silently. Duan Kai shook his head and said, No, this bastard is very stubborn. He is afraid that we will kill him if he tells us, but he did not expect that we did not want him to live at all. So whether he tells us or not is meaningless. That's true. Anyway, we still have people in the company, Yong said lightly. At this time, Duan Kai said, Brother, I just got the news that the Qin family has sent someone to Shenzhen to take over Gu Jinxin's work. This time, they sent someone with a strong background. It seems that he is Hao Mingyi, the former vice president of Chong and department. Who? Yong did not know about this. When he heard this very familiar name, he was stunned for a few seconds and then asked. Duan Kai said slowly, Hao Mingyi. After confirming the name again, Yong instantly stood up and said, What the F***CK? Is the Qin family crazy? Duan Kai did not understand. It was just Hao Mingyi. What was there to be afraid of? Although he used to be the vice president of Chong and department, this was Shenzhen. But this was Shenzhen. Could he turn the tables on them? Only Yong knew Hao Mingyi's power. He was absolutely Qin Chang'an's trusted subordinate, one of the few carriages of Chong and department, and a big shot in the domestic capital circle. The Qin family actually sent Hao Mingyi to Shenzhen for such a trivial matter. This was like using a missile to kill a mosquito. It was too F***king wasteful. From this, it could be seen that he really pissed off the Qin family this time. Otherwise, the Qin family would not do this. Obviously, they would not stop until he was dead. Yong could not help thinking that if the Qin family found too many things in the financial affairs, even if they did not use other methods, they would force him into a corner. What should he do? It was already 3 o'clock in the morning in Los Angeles, the United States. In a mansion of the Qin family in Beverly Hills, both Xue Qingyan and Lin Su had fallen asleep. Beverly Hills had the title of the world's most prestigious residential area. It was regarded as the representative and symbol of wealth, fame, and fortune. It was located on the cool and pleasant Pacific Ocean coast and at the foot of Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills was the dream place in the eyes of the world's famous rich people. As the most famous city in the city of Los Angeles, it had the world's most high-end commercial street and many mansions of Hollywood movie stars. It was also the holy land of the world's film industry. Although the location of the Qin family's mansion in Beverly Hills was not the best, it was also very expensive. Not everyone could afford it. It was close to a Hollywood superstar on the east, and the mansion of a business tycoon in the United States was on the west. As for the mansion of the Qin family, it was originally bought from a Hollywood superstar. However, the Qin family only treated it as an investment. No one lived here until Lin Su came to the United States. Late at night, Xue Qingyan was having a sweet dream. In her dream, she was traveling around the world with Qin Sheng. At this time, they were on vacation on the beach in France. Their next stop was Morocco. However, when this sweet dream just began, Xue Qingyan was awakened by the vibration of her mobile phone. This was the third time. Since she came to the United States, because of the time difference, Xue Qingyan would set her mobile phone to silent mode every time she went to bed, for fear of being disturbed by others. Perhaps she was a little tired after accompanying Lin Su to go shopping today. Xue Qingyan forgot to set the phone to silent mode. The phone vibrated for the third time in a row, completely waking Xue Qingyan up. Xue Qingyan was a little unhappy that her sleep was disturbed. She turned on the light and took the phone in a daze. After opening it, she found that it was a voice message from Lin Yu. This made Xue Qingyan a little more confused. Logically speaking, Lin Yu knew that they were sleeping at this time. It was impossible for her to disturb them for no reason. Therefore, if there was nothing urgent, it was impossible for Lin Yu to contact her in such a hurry. Moreover, she sent voice messages 3 times in a row. Just when Xue Qingyan was puzzled, Lin Yu's voice message came again. This time, Xue Qingyan did not hesitate. She directly answered the voice message and asked in a hurry, Lin Yu, what happened? After the voice message was answered, Lin Yu suddenly broke down and cried. Her crying was very distressing. Shui Qingyan heard the crying and did not care about anything else. She said anxiously, "Lin Yu, don't cry. What happened?" Lin Yu cried and said, "Oh, Sister Qingyan, my grandma. My grandma passed away hearing this bad news." Shui Qingyan completely woke up. Chapter 1071. Hiding the news late at night in Los Angeles. Sitting on the bed, Shui Qingyan was at a loss with her mobile phone in her hand. When she heard Lin Yu crying, she had a bad premonition. Moreover, since Lin Yu sent her voice messages one after another at this time, it must be a big deal. But Shui Qingyan still did not expect that it would be such a message. Old Lady Lin had passed away. What should she do? Lin Yu had just returned. How could the old lady pass away so suddenly? How could it be so fast? Lin Su had not gone back yet. She had not seen the old lady for the last time. Moreover, if Lin Su knew this news, she would be so sad. At that time, Lin Su would definitely go back to see her grandmother off. No one could stop her, not even Shui Qingyan. When Lin Su returned to the Lin family, everyone inside and outside the Lin family would be there. Who could imagine that Lin Su would appear with a big belly? This news would definitely not be concealed. Thinking about it, things would definitely get out of control. How would the Lin family see Lin Su? How would the Lin family think of Qin Sheng? After this news spread out, what would Qin Sheng and Lin Su face? At that time, it would be a problem whether the baby could be kept, not to mention Qin Sheng's situation in the Zhu family and the Song family. Shui Qingyan instantly thought of the series of events that would follow. This was like a domino. As long as Lin Su chose to return to China, all the following cards would fall one after another. No one could imagine how serious the consequences would be. Therefore, the most important thing was to not let Lin Su go back. How could she not let Lin Su go back? There was only one way. She must not let Lin Su know the news of the old lady's death. These thoughts flashed through Shui Qingyan's mind in an instant. After coming to her senses, she immediately comforted Lin Yu. "Lin Yu, don't cry. It's human nature to be born, grow old, get sick, and die. Grandma has gone to enjoy life. You have my condolences. Sister Qingyan, my grandma passed away. What should I do? How can I tell my sister?" Lin Yu continued to sob. Shui Qingyan said sadly, "Lin Yu, I know you're sad about grandma's death, but you can't let your sister know this news now. You have to find a way to hide this news. No matter what, keep it a secret as long as possible. Otherwise, as you know, your sister would definitely return to China. But you know her situation better than me." Shui Qingyan's words made Lin Yu calm down instantly. Shui Qingyan had told Lin Yu these things before. If Lin Su returned to China with a big belly, she would not only bring danger to herself and the baby, but also bring trouble to the Lin family. Only after giving birth to the baby, there would be no trouble. "Sister Qingyan, what should we do?" Lin Yu asked, feeling a little scared. Shui Qingyan frowned and asked, "When did Grandma die?" "4 hours ago," Lin Yu replied. Shui Qingyan continued to ask, "Did anyone take the liberty to tell your sister?" Lin Yu replied truthfully, "I don't think so. My father has told me that my sister can't come back in time from the United States, so no one is allowed to tell my sister about this. As for other people, they don't know the news of Grandma's death yet." Shui Qingyan let out a long sigh of relief. It seemed that Lin Changhe had prepared well. These middle-aged men were so meticulous. Maybe he had thought about this problem long ago. If the old lady really died in an accident, he would definitely block the news from Lin Su. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. This was the first guarantee he could make. The second guarantee was that if Lin Su knew and insisted on coming back, he could only stop her from coming back by force. If Lin Changding and Shui Qingyan didn't work, he could only ask Qin Sheng to do it, unless Lin Su didn't want to have this baby. Although it was a little cruel to Lin Su, it was the reality. They couldn't afford to make mistakes at this time. Otherwise, Lin Su and the Lin family would be hurt in the end. So Lin Su had to make a choice. Moreover, the old lady had passed away. Even if Lin Su knew it, it would be too late to go back. At this time, Shui Qingyan continued to say, "It seems that your father has prepared well, but we still have to be careful. Anyway, as long as you have your sister's contact information, whether it is your family members or the employees of the company, especially those who use WeChat and other social networks. Don't leak the news of your grandma's death. Even if it is a morning post in WeChat, you have to block your sister. Do you understand? Sister Qingyan, I got it. I will tell my father. But you can rest assured that my sister is not in danger. There are no more than 5 people in the whole family. As for the company, I will tell them. Lin Yu nodded silently. After Shui Qingyan arranged these things, she said, "That's good. It seems that I can't go back to see my grandma off in time. I can only stay here to look after your sister." Lin Yu was worried and said, "Sister Qingyan, you must take good care of my sister." "Thank you." Shui Qingyan nodded and said, "Don't worry. I will take care of her. When your father is not busy, I will talk to him and see what he thinks." At this time, Shui Qingyan suddenly thought of something. She said in a hurry, "By the way, has your brother-in-law been to Ningbo?" "No. What's wrong?" "My father asked me to ask you just now. Should I inform my brother-in-law about this?" At this time, Lin Yu had calmed down and remembered what her father had told her. Hearing this news, Shui Qingyan was a little unhappy. She had told Qin Sheng a few days ago, and he had promised to go to Ningbo as soon as possible. But now she heard that Qin Sheng did not go at all. Did Qin Sheng not want to go, or was he perfunctory? No matter how busy he was, he could not even spare one day to go there. If Qin Sheng went there earlier, he might be able to see the old lady for the last time. When the old lady saw him, she would definitely talk about Lin Su. She was most worried about Lin Su. She thought that Qin Sheng would promise the old lady to take good care of Lin Su. In this way, even if the old lady did not see her favorite granddaughter, she would be relieved. In this way, the old lady would not have any regrets when she passed away. However, now the old lady had passed away, and Qin Sheng did not go to Ningbo, which made Shui Qingyan very unhappy. What on earth was Qin Sheng thinking? What did he think Lin Su was? If Lin Su knew, how could she not be sad? The more Shui Qingyan thought about it, the angrier she became. After hanging up the phone, she was even more confused. She had done everything she could for Qin Sheng and Lin Su. But what about Qin Sheng? Now that the old lady had passed away, Shui Qingyan would inform Qin Sheng no matter what. As for whether he would go or not, Shui Qingyan did not care. Anyway, she tried her best. In Shenzhen, in the evening, Qin Sheng held a banquet to welcome Hao Mingyi. He also wanted to hear Hao Mingyi's thoughts about the company in Shenzhen. Besides Hao Mingyi, Qin Sheng also invited Fang Tianai. He intended to let Fang Tianai and Hao Mingyi get to know each other better. After all, they had only met twice in Beijing last time. Moreover, Hao Mingyi was very famous in the industry. Fang Tianai could have a good chat with Hao Mingyi after getting to know him. Hao Mingyi could only give some advice to the Fang family. Moreover, the Qin family would definitely have a lot of contact with the Fang family in the future. As the core figure of the Qin family, Hao Mingyi would definitely have a lot of contact with Fang Tianai. In this way, both parties could get to know each other in advance, which would be helpful for future cooperation. Although Hao Mingyi was only a senior executive in the Qin family, Fang Tianai did not dare to take Hao Mingyi lightly. No matter where Hao Mingyi went, he would be a big boss at the level of president. Moreover, it was a powerful big company. Therefore, Fang Tianai had arrived early. He followed Qin Sheng and waited for Hao Mingyi to come from the company. Qin Sheng, to be honest, it is really a waste of talent to ask boss how to come to Shenzhen. Fang Tianai already knew from Qin Sheng why Hao Mingyi came to Shenzhen. Qin Sheng shook his head and sighed bitterly. My family also hopes to finish the business in Shenzhen as soon as possible. In this way, they can also deal with the assets of the company in Shenzhen as soon as possible, so that the Qin family can get on the right track as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would not have asked Uncle how to come to Shenzhen. That's true. You must have your own considerations. After all, there are so many things in the Qin family that you need to be responsible for. There is no need for you to waste your time in Shenzhen because of Yong, Fang Tianai said thoughtfully. Just when the two of them were chatting, Hao Mingyi was brought into the private room by the waiter. After seeing Hao Mingyi come in, Fang Tianai quickly stood up and greeted him. Boss Hao, we meet again. Hao Mingyi did not expect that Fang Tianai would be here. He smiled and greeted him. Oh, I didn't expect that Boss Fong would be here. Fong Ti and I said happily. Boss Hao, you are here. After I heard from Qin Sheng, I cheekily came to have a meal. I hope Boss Hao won't be offended. Ha ha, Boss Fong, you're treating me like an outsider. This time, thanks to the help of Boss Fong and the Fong family, we are all family. You don't have to be so polite. Hao Mingyi was used to this kind of situation, so he handled it skillfully. Fong Ti and I held Hao Mingyi's hand and said, Boss Hao, please take a seat. Today, I will be the host instead of the guest. I will do my best as a host. I hope Boss Hao can take care of me when I go to Beijing in the future. I don't think you need me to show up. You still have Qin Sheng, Hao Mingyi said calmly. Fong Ti and I laughed and said, it is the same. After Hao Mingyi sat down, he chatted with Fong Ti and I. Qin Sheng asked the waiter to order the dishes, choose the wine, and so on. At this time, Qin Sheng's phone kept vibrating. Qin Sheng glanced at it casually and found that there was no phone call. It must be a voice message or a video. However, Qin Sheng did not care about it this time, so he ignored it. However, when Qin Sheng was ordering the dishes, the phone did not stop vibrating at all. This made Qin Sheng very surprised. Who was contacting him in such a hurry? If it was an acquaintance, something must have happened since he did not answer it. Similarly, if it was an acquaintance, he would not contact him again and again if there was nothing urgent. Therefore, after ordering the dishes, Qin Sheng picked up his phone and opened WeChat to have a look. He found that it was a video sent by Xue Qingyan. Qin Sheng's heart skipped a beat inexplicably. Just when he was wondering what happened to Sister Qingyan, Xue Qingyan sent another video. Hao Mingyi and Fong Ti and I had already noticed the situation on Qin Sheng's side, so they signaled Qin Sheng to ignore them. Qin Sheng smiled embarrassedly. He picked up the video and walked out slowly. Chapter 1072. Seeing that it was a video call from Sister Qingyan, Qin Sheng did not dare to reject it because he was too embarrassed to see her. After all, he had promised her that he would go to the Lin family in Ningbo to visit Lin Su's old lady Lin. Unfortunately, he had not been there yet because of the sudden incident in Shenzhen. However, Sister Qingyan had already sent the video call several times, so Qin Sheng had to reject it. If something happened to Lin Su in Los Angeles, he would definitely panic. It was almost dawn in Los Angeles. Xue Qingyan did not sleep much after receiving the video call from Lin Yu. She was thinking about all kinds of things that might happen and finally decided to call Qin Sheng. However, after sending several video calls, Qin Sheng did not answer them, which made Xue Qingyan somewhat angry. Therefore, when a video call was connected, Xue Qingyan did not wait for Qin Sheng to speak and asked directly, Qin Sheng, are you very busy? Qin Sheng was a little surprised. He also saw that Xue Qingyan did not look very well in the video call and looked a little tired and haggard. In addition, her tone was a little stiff. Qin Sheng hurriedly replied, Sister, what's wrong? Xue Qingyan wanted to question Qin Sheng, but found that he seemed to be outside, so she frowned and said, Where are you now? Find a place. I have something to tell you. Hao Mingyi was chatting with Fong Ti and I inside. Qin Sheng was going to welcome Hao Mingyi tonight. If he did not go in for a long time, he was afraid that Hao Mingyi would be a little unhappy. After all, from Xue Qingyan's posture, he would definitely talk to him for a long time. Therefore, Qin Sheng asked apologetically, Sister, I have something to do tonight. Can we talk later? Xue Qingyan was a little troubled by this sudden incident. She also did this for Qin Sheng and Lin Su, but she did not expect that Qin Sheng would say that he had something to do, which was obviously a euphemistic refusal. She, who had never lost her temper at Qin Sheng, suddenly became furious. No, Qin Sheng, if you are really too busy, let's not contact each other in the future. I don't care about you and Lin Su. You can do whatever you want, Xue Qingyan said angrily. Qin Sheng did not expect that Xue Qingyan would be so angry. He did not know what had happened, so he hurriedly replied, Sister, don't be angry. I'll find a quiet place right now. Wait for me, I'll go immediately. Seeing his attitude, Xue Qingyan did not continue to get angry. Instead, she hung up the video call. Fortunately, her room was far away from Lin Su's room. Otherwise, she would not dare to video call Qin Sheng. Otherwise, if Lin Su heard it, she would be in big trouble. He walked toward Fong Tianai and Hao Mingyi, who were chatting happily, and said, "Uncle Hao, Brother Fong, I have something to do here. I need to make an important call. It may take a long time. You can chat and eat first. Don't wait for me. I'll come back after I finish the call." Fong Tianai thought something was wrong and asked, "What's wrong? What happened this time?" "No, it's something else," Qin Sheng explained casually. Hao Mingyi and Fong Tianai were very familiar with Qin Sheng. Moreover, they were both business tycoons. Although they had only met 2 or 3 times, they still had a lot to talk about. After all, they were middle-aged people in their 40s or 50s. They would not sit here and make the atmosphere awkward. Hao Mingyi smiled and said, "Qin Sheng, you go ahead with your work. We're all on the same side. Don't worry about us." Fong Tianai said with a smile, Go ahead. Drink more when you come back later." Qin Sheng smiled. He left. Qin Sheng found a waiter and asked him to find an empty private room or lounge for him. After entering the room, he called Xue Qingyan back in a hurry. Xue Qingyan, who had been waiting on the other side, immediately picked up the video call. At this time, Qin Sheng said, "Sister, it's okay now. What's the matter?" Xue Qingyan did not say anything directly, but asked first, "Are you busy recently?" Qin Sheng nodded slightly and said, "I'm a little overwhelmed with things in Shenzhen. I was about to finish it smoothly, but some accidents happened. I'm trying to solve the problems here these days." Qin Sheng was telling the truth, but Xue Qingyan asked, "I know you're busy, but no matter how busy you are, you can't spare a day to go to Ningbo?" Qin Sheng was afraid that Xue Qingyan would say this. He had indeed delayed it for a few days. He said helplessly, "Sister, it's my fault. I was supposed to go to Ningbo this morning, but something happened in Shenzhen last night. I haven't sorted it out yet, so I have no time to go." Qin Sheng, I just want to know, what is Lin Su's position in your heart? Do you know how sad and painful she is because she can't go back to see her grandmother? Xue Qingyan did not listen to Qin Sheng's explanation and said with a livid face. Qin Sheng did not know why Xue Qingyan was so angry. Was it because he did not go to Ningbo to see old lady Lin? "Sister, Lin Su is very important to me. I also know she is sad that she can't come back to see her grandmother. I also know what grandma means to Lin Su. Anyway, it's my fault that I did not go to Ningbo. But you can rest assured that I will book a ticket to go to Ningbo to see grandma tomorrow morning. This time I will not break my promise. Even if the sky falls, I will go," Qin Sheng said in order to comfort Xue Qingyan. He also thought that Lin Su might be angry because he did not go to Ningbo, so Xue Qingyan sent a video call to question him. However, Qin Sheng thought it was simple. At this time, Xue Qingyan said directly, "No, you don't have to go in the future." "Sister, what do you mean? I was wrong. I was really wrong." Qin Sheng thought that Xue Qingyan was really angry, so he had to beg for mercy. Xue Qingyan's face was a little pale, and her eyes were a little red. She said, "I said no, do you know why?" "Why?" Qin Sheng was a little flustered. He saw that Xue Qingyan's eyes were already red. At this time, Xue Qingyan said in a trembling voice, "Old Mrs. Lin passed away." Buzz after hearing this news, Qin Sheng's mind instantly went blank. He never thought that it would be like this. He was wondering why Xue Qingyan was so angry. It turned out that old Mrs. Lin passed away. No wonder Xue Qingyan said no. She did not have to go in the future, because there was no chance for her to go in the future. Qin Sheng did not know what to say at the moment. He thought of how good the old lady had been to him. She trusted and supported him unwaveringly. Under the circumstances that everyone opposed, she still handed Lin Su over to him. She even asked him to take good care of Lin Su several times. But how'd he do it? Now, not only could he not give Lin Su a future, but he also did not have time to see her when the old lady was in critical condition. Now the old lady suddenly passed away. How could Qin Sheng not feel guilty? How could he not be sad? He thought about the relationship between the old lady and Lin Su. Lin Su could not care about everyone in the Lin family, but she could not let go of the old lady. Because these years in the Lin family, It was the old lady who protected her. The old lady was Lin Su's patron saint, and she loved her granddaughter more than anyone else. Now that the old lady passed away, what should Lin Su do in the United States? After a long time, Qin Sheng responded. His eyes were already wet. He said with difficulty, "Sister, when did it happen?" "A few hours ago," Xue Qinyan replied calmly. Qin Sheng continued to ask, "Does Lin Su know about it?" "Not yet. Lin called me and told me. Lin Shangha has told everyone in the Lin family not to let Lin Su know about it. Otherwise, if Lin Su knows about it, she will be in trouble," Xue Qinyan said. Qin Sheng felt very sad. He did not know what to say. This was Lin Su's grandmother, who loved her the most. Now that she had passed away, Lin Su could not come back to see her off. How sad she must be. However, the fact was that Lin Su could not come back for Lin Su or for the child, for the Lin family, or for Qin Sheng. So the only way was to hide the news and not let Lin Su know. Although it was a bit too much, they had no choice. That was why Lin Changhe and Xue Qinyan made such a decision. After thinking for a while, Qin Sheng made up his mind and said, "Sister, no matter what, you should try your best to keep it a secret from Lin Su. I'll go to Ningbo tomorrow morning. I'll deal with the Lin family. If Lin Su really knows it and you can't persuade her, call me. I'll tell her then." Xue Qinyan was very clear that if Qin Sheng knew about old lady Lin's death, he would make a decision directly without her asking him whether he would go to Ningbo or not. Because he was Qin Sheng, he had to do this for Lin Su. Otherwise, Lin Su would not make so many sacrifices for him. "Okay, I got it," Xue Qinyan said casually. At this time, Qin Sheng felt more guilty. Xue Qinyan had really helped him a lot in the affairs between him and Lin Su. He sighed and said, "Sister, I am sorry. You have worked so hard, but I made you angry." Xue Qinyan did not say anything. She just said, "If anything happens to the Lin family, I will contact you later. Bye." After that, Xue Qinyan directly hung up the video call. Qin Sheng was stunned for a long time. In the end, he could only shake his head and smile bitterly. Now, the most important thing for him was to go to Ningbo tomorrow. He could only put aside the things in Shenzhen first. After Qin Sheng came to himself, he stood up and went back to the private room. At this time, Fang Tianai and Hao Mingyi had already started drinking. Qin Sheng did waste a lot of time. Fang Tianai smiled and said, "Qin Sheng, are you done? Come on, let's drink." Hao Mingyi felt that something was wrong with Qin Sheng, especially his face. He frowned and asked, "Qin Sheng, what happened? You're not in a good state." At this time, Fang Tianai also found that something was wrong. He hurriedly asked, "Qin Sheng, what happened? Say something." At this time, Qin Sheng looked at the two elders and could only say, "Brother Fang, Uncle Hao, I have something urgent here. I have to go to Ningbo tomorrow morning. I may be delayed there for a few days. I will leave the things in Shenzhen to you. If anything happens, we will contact each other by phone." Fang Tianai and Hao Mingyi looked at each other. They did not expect that things were so urgent that Qin Sheng had to leave Shenzhen at this critical time. What should they do? Qin Sheng had no choice. The old lady had passed away. He had no reason not to go. Chapter 1073. Here's your chance. Qin Sheng had to go to Ningbo to send the old lady off for the last time. Moreover, there were so many people in Shenzhen, so Qin Sheng didn't need to worry too much. He could control things here by phone. After all, he didn't need to show up here unless he needed to meet some big shots, which could be delayed until he came back. Fang Tianai and Hao Mingyi could tell that it was an urgent matter. Otherwise, Qin Sheng wouldn't go to Shenzhen at this time. After they met, Hao Mingyi said, "Qin Sheng, since it's urgent, go ahead. I'll take care of the company. Don't worry." Fang Tianai also said, "Although it's not appropriate for you to leave at this time, it's an urgent matter after all. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so anxious. Don't worry. I'll keep an eye on other things." "Uncle Hao, Brother Fang, I'll leave Shenzhen to you," Qin Sheng said sincerely. At this time, Fang Tianai said, "Since you're going tomorrow, you don't have to hurry. You have to drink with us tonight." What else could Qin Sheng say? No matter what, it was a welcoming dinner for Uncle Hao. It was not appropriate for him to leave when it just started. He could only risk his life to accompany them. Therefore, Qin Sheng raised his glass and gave a toast to Fong Tianai and Hao Mingyi. Because Qin Sheng suddenly had an urgent matter, he didn't seem to be in a good mood. Therefore, the dinner didn't last long. After finishing a bottle of wine, everyone left. Qin Sheng went back to the hotel directly. Fong Tianai dragged Hao Mingyi to drink with him for the second round. As for where they went, Qin Sheng did not care. Fong Tianai muttered that he had to be a good host, so Qin Sheng did not care. After Qin Sheng left the restaurant, he asked Chang Baji to inform the others to go back to the hotel. In fact, He Wei, Fu Rong, and Hao Lei were all his confidants. Since Qin Sheng left suddenly, he naturally had to handle things in Shenzhen well. Otherwise, he would be worried even if he went to Ningbo. When Qin Sheng returned to the hotel, Fu Rong, He Wei, and Hao Lei were already there. They were waiting for him in his suite. They did not know why Qin Sheng called them back in such a hurry. Did something big happen again? After Qin Sheng sat down, he looked at the others and said, "I have something to tell you." Hao Lei asked subconsciously, "Did something happen again?" Fu Rong and He Wei were also worried. If anything were to happen, Shenzhen would be in trouble. "No, it's just that I'm going to leave Shenzhen for a few days. So, I'm going to arrange things in Shenzhen for you," Qin Sheng said honestly. He Wei frowned and said, "Back to Beijing?" Qin Sheng shook his head as he said, "No. Why would I go back to Beijing at this time? I just need to go to Ningbo. I might be delayed for a few days. I will leave Shenzhen to you." "To Ningbo?" Hao Lei said in a deep voice. "Did something happen to the Lin family?" Qin Sheng let out a long sigh and said, "Old Madame Lin has passed away." After hearing the news, Hao Lei finally understood why Qin Sheng suddenly called them back and said that he was going to leave Shenzhen. It turned out that old Madame Lin of the Lin family in Ningbo had passed away. This news was indeed a little too sudden. A few days ago, Qin Sheng had said that he would go to Ningbo to visit old Madame Lin. However, he did not expect that the situation in Shenzhen would change so suddenly that Qin Sheng was delayed and did not see old Madame Lin for the last time. In this case, it was He Yong, the bastard, who was to blame. If this was really the case, Qin Sheng had to go because old Madame Lin was Lin Su's biological grandmother. When old Madame Lin was hospitalized, Qin Sheng originally wanted to go, but because of what happened in Shenzhen, he did not go. If old Madame Lin passed away and Qin Sheng still did not go, what would Lin Su and the rest of the Lin family think? After coming back to reality, Hao Lei said sincerely, "Then you go. Leave the matters in Shenzhen to us." At this time, Qin Sheng made arrangements. "After I leave Shenzhen, Fu Rong and He Wei protect Uncle Hao and the rest. Brother Lei, you and Lao Chong listen to Brother Fong's arrangements. It's better for you to handle some things. Everyone in the Qin family will also listen to your arrangements. If anything unexpected happens, we will contact you by phone." Hao Lei said in surprise, "Qin Sheng, this is not a good idea. Are you going to Ningbo alone without Lao Chong?" At this time, Chang Baji also said, "I'd better go to Ningbo with you. It's safer this way." He Wei and Fu Rong also said, "If you don't take Lao Chong with you, let's go to Ningbo with you. Otherwise, we will be worried. If something really happens, we can't explain it to the old master." Qin Sheng said disapprovingly, "Now Shenzhen is the most short of manpower. I don't know who will be sent by 6th Uncle Long. Lao Chong staying here is also a deterrent. As for you, you have other things to do. Moreover, there will be no danger in Ningbo. After all, Ningbo is the territory of the Lin family. I will only take 2 bodyguards there. Moreover, I will stay in the Lin family most of the time. Moreover, if something really happens, there are friends everywhere in Zhujiang, and we can find reinforcements at any time, right?" What Qin Sheng had said was true. The Lin family's influence in Ningbo was deep-rooted. Especially after the crisis, the Lin family had been thriving again. Moreover, Qin Sheng had so many allies in Zhujiang. As long as he made a phone call, these tycoons would come to him in person. So there was nothing to worry about. Hao Lei said directly, I am still a little worried. Qin Sheng chuckled and said, Who knows that I will go to Ningbo? You should let Lao Chang go with you, or let He Wei and Fu Rong go with you. Hao Lei was Qin Sheng's old friend for so many years, and he naturally considered everything for Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng continued, You don't trust others, but you don't trust my strength? Qin Sheng's strength was far above Hao Lei's. Even Fu Rong or He Wei might not be able to defeat Qin Sheng. Therefore, Qin Sheng's biggest reliance was himself. Seeing that Qin Sheng had made up his mind, they could not persuade him. But after thinking carefully, Qin Sheng was right. At this moment, Shenzhen needed manpower the most, and they would be more useful in Shenzhen. Moreover, all the dangers were in Shenzhen, and there would be no danger in Ningbo. Moreover, as Qin Sheng said, he had so many friends in Zhujiang, and if something really happened, he could use them at any time. After everything was arranged, Hao Lei and the others left, leaving only Chang Baji in the room. Chang Baji asked again, You really don't need me? Qin Sheng said slowly, Lao Chang, Shenzhen needs you more. Chang Baji did not say anything more. After washing up, Qin Sheng lay on the bed and immediately sent a video call to his sister. After a while, the video call was connected. On the other side, Qin Ran was lying on the bed, ready to rest. Qin Ran thought that Qin Sheng was going to tell her about what happened in Shenzhen, but she did not expect that Qin Sheng would directly say, Sister, I have something to tell you. What is it? Qin Ran asked casually. Qin Sheng said slowly, Old Madam Lin passed away today, and I have to go to Ningbo. Qin Ran was a little shocked after hearing that. This news was indeed a little sudden. Does Lin Su know? Qin Ran knew that Lin Su went to the United States, and this was also Qin Ran's initiative to tell her. She thought that Lin Su went to the United States because she was sad, but she did not know that Lin Su really wanted to go to the United States. If she knew, would she scold Qin Sheng to death? Qin Sheng said casually, I haven't asked. I think she already knows, or maybe she's already on her way back. Although Qin Ran was not willing to let Qin Sheng go to Ningbo. After all, he had broken up with Lin Su, and it was better for him not to have anything to do with her. Old Madam Lin was Lin Su's grandmother. Lin Su had accompanied Qin Sheng for a long time, and Old Madam Lin treated Qin Sheng very well. According to Qin Sheng's character, he definitely wanted to go to Ningbo. Consequently, Qin Ran frowned and said, Do I need to tell Ruyu, in case she thinks too much when she knows? Qin Sheng said, No need. I will come back after seeing Old Madam off. She is not a stingy person. If she really knows, I will explain to her. Qin Ran felt a little headache. She could not say much about these things, and had no choice but to say, Do as you see fit. Be careful, go there early and come back early. Qin Sheng said yes and hung up the video call. Qin Ran did not think much about it. It did not occur to her that Qin Sheng would go there with only 2 bodyguards of the Qin family. She subconsciously thought that Qin Sheng would definitely bring Lao Chang with him. After all, Qin Sheng would take Lao Chang with him wherever he went. As long as Lao Chang was by his side, Qin Sheng would not be in any danger. However, Qin Sheng did not bring anyone this time. The next day, Qin Sheng got up early in the morning and went to the airport. Chang Baji had selected 2 experienced bodyguards to follow Qin Sheng to Ningbo. He also told them to pay more attention in Ningbo and protect Qin Sheng no matter what happened. Chang Baji went to the airport in person. He did not leave until Qin Sheng entered the airport. However, he did not notice that a car had followed them from the hotel to the airport. In the end, he saw Qin Sheng enter the security passage. After walking out of the airport, a middle-aged man in the business car that had followed Qin Sheng looked at the old man behind him and asked, Uncle Ghost, where is the eldest young master of the Qin family going? He did not even bring Chang Baji with him. This is an opportunity for us. The old man's hair covered half of his face. It seemed that his appearance could not be seen clearly. He did not say anything. The middle-aged man in the passenger seat said, What if he goes back to Beijing? Uncle Ghost chuckled and said, Let old Long check it out. Then we will know. He was none other than the person in charge of assassinating Qin Sheng. Old Ghost, who had been sent by Old Long to kill him. After leaving the airport, Old Ghost immediately reported Qin Sheng's schedule to Old Long. Old Long was also a little confused. The situation in Shenzhen was critical. Where was Qin Sheng going? If Qin Sheng was going back to Beijing, they would have no chance. Old Long did not think too much about it. He just asked someone to check it out. About half an hour later, Old Long received a call. The person on the phone said slowly, "Old Long." He went to Ningbo. When Old Long heard the news, he was stunned for a few seconds. Then he smiled happily because his opportunity had come. Soon, Old Long directly called Old Ghost. After the phone was connected, Old Long said with a smile, "Old Ghost, your opportunity has come." Old Ghost immediately understood what Old Long meant. Obviously, Qin Sheng was not going back to Beijing. Otherwise, Old Long would not have said that. But since Qin Sheng was not going back to Beijing, why did he not even bring Chang Baji with him? Was he so arrogant? After coming to himself, Old Ghost said with a smile, "Where is he going?" "Ningbo." Old Long sneered. Old Ghost showed a bloodthirsty smile and said, "Got it." Chapter 1074. In order to take revenge on the Qin family, Elder Long had always been willing to pay any price. He did not have much energy to calculate the gains and losses. If he had calculated the gains and losses, he would not have tried to take revenge by almost dying together with his enemies. If he was calculating the gains and losses, he wouldn't have cooperated with Sixth Uncle just to place Qin Sheng in a place of death. After all, he was paying with real money. Although it would still belong to him in the end, it was too risky. If he had calculated the gains and losses, Elder Long would not have tried to kill Qin Sheng this time. He would rather hurt the enemy and himself than kill the Qin family. It could be seen how cruel and merciless Elder Long was. More importantly, Elder Long was already in trouble this time. He also knew that the Song family and the Zhu family were behind Qin Sheng, but he still wanted to do it. It could be seen that he was mentally prepared. Without Chang Baji, Qin Sheng had no one to rely on. Old Ghost and 3 of Elder Long's most trusted subordinates were ready for this trip to Ningbo, unless Qin Sheng did not give Old Ghost any chance. Qin Sheng had told Lin Yu that he would arrive in Ningbo at noon. He did not disturb Lin Changhe because the Lin family was busy and Lin Changhe had a lot of things to deal with. After all, the Lin family was a big family in Ningbo, and Old Lady Lin's funeral was the most important thing. Lin Changhe must be busy all the time. However, Lin Yu would definitely find time to tell her father. As for Lin Yu, she was very happy when she received Qin Sheng's call. If her sister could not come back, her brother-in-law would send her grandmother off on behalf of her sister, and the other members of the Lin family would not dare to say anything. On the plane, Qin Sheng, who did not sleep well last night, closed his eyes to rest. When he got on the plane, he told the stewardess in the first-class cabin not to disturb him. He was not even interested in a beautiful woman who took the initiative to talk to him. He was no longer a young man who had not seen the world. What he was experiencing now was the scenery at a higher level. After all, every road in life was different. After getting off the plane, Qin Sheng saw Lin Yu waving at him from afar. It did not occur to him that Lin Yu would come to pick him up at the airport. He was somewhat moved. After seeing Lin Yu, the beauty who had been trying to hit on Qin Sheng gave up the idea directly. After all, although Lin Yu was not as beautiful as her sister, she was not inferior to most beauties. Moreover, she was cultivated by the Lin family. In the beginning, Lin Yu was very happy. However, as Qin Sheng walked closer to her, the smile on her face gradually disappeared, followed by sadness. When Qin Sheng walked up to her, Lin Yu could not help hugging him and crying. She cried and shouted, "Brother-in-law." Qin Sheng knew that Lin Yu was really sad this time. In addition to the sudden death of their grandmother, it was also because their sister could not come back in time. After all, their sister was their grandmother's most beloved granddaughter. Even Lin Yu could only be ranked behind her sister. Qin Sheng held Lin Yu in his arms, patted her shoulder gently, and said, "Don't cry, don't cry. Everything will be fine. Grandma definitely doesn't want you to be so sad." After crying for a while, Lin Yu let go of Qin Sheng. After all, It was not appropriate to cry in public. Moreover, she had grown up and was not a little girl who knew nothing. Lin Yu wiped her tears away and said calmly, "Brother-in-law, there are many things at home, so my father asked me to come to pick you up. The car is waiting outside." Qin Sheng nodded gently and said, "Okay, let's go back." For most people, liking a city was probably because they liked one person. Maybe this city was built because he liked someone. If it were not for Lin Su, it would be hard for him to come to Ningbo in his life, let alone come here so frequently. In the same way, some people might leave a city because they liked one person. This person made them sad, so they left the city. From then on, this city would only be left with their memories. Qin Sheng had come to Ningbo several times. Almost every time he came back, he accompanied Lin Su. Although this time he came for the Lin family, Lin Su was not by his side. On the way, Qin Sheng asked a lot about Lin Su's situation in Los Angeles. After all, during this period, Lin Yu had been accompanying Lin Su. Lin Yu told him everything that should be said. After all, Qin Sheng was her brother-in-law. Moreover, she was the future aunt of the child in her sister's belly. She had to take good care of her sister. Of course, in the end, Lin Yu said that no matter how well her sister lived in Los Angeles, she would not be as happy as her brother-in-law. Therefore, she hoped that her brother-in-law could go to Los Angeles to see her sister when he was free. Qin Sheng first thanked Lin Yu for taking care of Lin Su during this period. Secondly, he said that when he was almost done with his domestic affairs, he would definitely go to Los Angeles to see his sister. Lin Yu also knew what had happened in her brother-in-law's family. Now, how many people didn't know what had happened to the Qin family? She often heard many friends talking about the Qin family. Even the online news abroad had related reports. Lin Yu was a little worried several times, because those things had already gone beyond her imagination. After a while, the two cars entered the old house of the Lin family in Ningbo. Unfortunately, the road to the old house was blocked because there were many cars lining up to enter the old house of the Lin family. Many people directly parked their cars by the roadside and walked in. These people were all going to mourn old Lady Lin. The Lin family could be said to be a century-old family in Ningbo. Although it had many ups and downs, all the famous families in Ningbo had nothing to do with the Lin family, not to mention the entire Yangtze River Delta. This was the accumulation of generations of the Lin family. Moreover, after the storm last year, the Lin family could be said to have made a comeback now. No one dared to look down on the current Lin family. Although the Lin family only informed the immediate and collateral relatives, many people still came to mourn after hearing the news. Many of them drove here from Hangzhou or Shanghai. Although they were all here to mourn old Lady Lin, more people actually wanted to build a good relationship with the Lin family. This was the reality. In this regard, Qin Sheng was not surprised. The Lin family had a history of 100 years. If there were only a few people in the Lin family after old Lady Lin passed away, then the Lin family would really decline. The Lin family had no choice. They were all guests, and they couldn't drive them away. Moreover, they were here to mourn old Lady Lin. Among them, there were some big shots in the officialdom. It was just that some of them were still in power, and some had retired. Therefore, the Lin family could only slightly strengthen the security. Everyone had to register with their real names before they could go in, so as to ensure that there would be no accidents. It should have taken them 2 or 3 minutes to drive, but Qin Sheng and the others walked for a full 20 minutes before they drove to the main gate of the Lin family's old house. Other people who came to mourn could only park their cars in the temporarily open parking lots on both sides. Only those big shots were qualified to drive directly into the main house of the Lin family. Because there were so many people, the security guard at the gate could not remember so many license plates. Naturally, Qin Sheng's 2 cars were also stopped. However, after the driver lowered the window and chatted for a while, the security guards directly let them in. At the gate, everyone muttered, "Tut, tut, tut. The Lin family is really arrogant. If you're not qualified, they won't let you drive in. We are all here to mourn old Lady Lin." This kind of treatment. The man next to him chuckled and said, "Isn't it normal? With so many people coming to mourn, it can't stop inside. Therefore, only big shots can go in. I don't know who is coming. I heard that several leaders of the municipal party committee have come, and some leaders from the province have come amorn. The Lin family is really different after 100 years. What do you think the Lin family hasn't been through? Last year, they were about to fall, but suddenly they stood up inexplicably and moved their headquarters to Shanghai. I heard that the Lin family moved away because the city did not help them when they were in danger. Even the leaders of the province did not stop them. And I also heard that several leaders of Shanghai attended the moving ceremony of the Lin family's headquarters in Shanghai. Tut, 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 isn't it awesome? Another man shook his head and sighed bitterly. Someone asked curiously, do you know how the Lin family got through the crisis, and now the momentum is getting stronger and stronger? I heard that it is because Lin Su, the eldest daughter of the Lin family, found a good son-in-law. It seems that he is the son of a big family in Beijing. He solved the problem of the Lin family very easily, so the Lin family rose again. I don't know if the son-in-law is here this time. We can also see his true face. The man who spoke first said with a smile. No wonder. What can we also reach the status of the Lin family? Someone sighed. The man sneered and said, first, you have to give birth to a beautiful daughter. Ha ha. But I heard that they broke up, didn't they? The son-in-law seems to be the son of Qin Chang'an, the behind-the-scenes boss of the Chang and group. Another man stood up and said he knew relatively more information. At this time, a middle-aged man who was more senior said, these things are far beyond our imagination. Forget it, forget it. Let's go in quickly in case people hear these gossip. Everyone agreed in unison and did not say anything else. They continued to walk toward the main gate of the Lin clan. The two cars that Qin Sheng took soon reached the main building. The morning hall of the old lady was set in the main hall of the Lin family's main building. The main hall of the main building had already been cleaned up. Fortunately, the main hall was relatively large, otherwise it could not accommodate so many people. Qin Sheng saw people coming and going into the main hall. He did not know how many people came to mourn old Lady Lin sincerely. Maybe only these direct relatives would be sad. However, this was human nature, and Qin Sheng could not say anything. If the Lin family collapsed one day, there would not be so many people. After the two cars stopped, Qin Sheng and Lin Yu got out of the car. Lin Changting and Lin Changhe were welcoming and seeing them off. It was within their expectation that so many people would come to offer their condolences. Unless those tycoons came to offer their condolences, both Lin Changting and Lin Changhe would show up. At other times, the two of them would take turns to rest. Therefore, it was Lin Zhe who came to pick Qin Sheng up. Lin Zhe had just heard the news. If Lin Changhe had not asked him to pick Qin Sheng up, he would not have known that Qin Sheng was coming. Of course, Lin Zhe knew what had happened between Qin Sheng and Lin Su, and he also knew that Qin Sheng had been engaged to the eldest daughter of the Song family in Beijing. Therefore, he was full of resentment towards Qin Sheng. When he walked up to Qin Sheng, before Qin Sheng greeted him, Lin Zhe questioned him sternly, "What are you doing here?" Chapter 1075. In the past, Lin Zhe had never liked Lin Su. In the past, Lin Zhe had never liked Lin Su. He had always felt that Lin Su was too outstanding, so outstanding that he felt ashamed of himself. At the same time, because of Lin Su's existence, he would get a share of the shares that originally belonged to him in the future. This was because the old lady had decided long ago, so he had been ostracizing Lin Su in all aspects in the Lin family. He had been like this since he was young. In addition, his mother had always been domineering. His father, Lin Changting, had never dared to be too close to Lin Su. The entire Lin family did not dare to have too much contact with Lin Su. Therefore, Lin Su had been living in the Lin family like this. After all, he was the future successor of the Lin family, the real future master of the Lin family. The rest of the Lin family would naturally choose him. However, Lin Su had never stooped to his level. She would even draw a clear line between them. Sometimes, she had to clean up after him. It could be seen how useless Lin Zhe was in the past. He was a standard wastrel. However, Qin Sheng's incident had completely woken Lin Zhe up. He suddenly felt that he had been such a beast in the past. Was this something that a F** king human should do? This was his sister. They were related by blood. Why did he have to treat his sister like this? If someone else had such a sister, they would feel sorry for her. But what about him? Therefore, Lindsay started to reflect on himself. It was not only because Lin Su had gotten 40% of the Lin family shares and became the real current master of the Lin family. It was also not because Lin Su had Qin Sheng as her boyfriend. The Qin family had helped the Lin family solve the Lin family's problems so that the Lin family could get out of the predicament. Of course, these were all reasons. But more importantly, he wanted to change himself. He wanted to make it up to Lin Su for what he had done over the years. Therefore, he really wanted to treat Lin Su as his sister in the future. He wanted to try his best to protect and love his sister. Although Lin Su was already so powerful that she did not need him anymore. But in the end, he was still her brother, and she was still his sister. Lindsay had thought that it was enough for Lin Su to meet Qin Sheng. He also thought that they would definitely grow old together in the end. He believed that Lin Su would be very happy. He also believed that Qin Sheng would love Lin Su very much. That was because they had experienced a lot over the years, from getting to know each other, to reuniting, to falling in love, and then breaking through all the obstacles to continue being together. They had suffered a lot and suffered a lot. They deserved to be happy. Especially in the past, Lin Su could give up everything she owned in the Lin family for Qin Sheng. This was not something that any girl could do. This was more like a love story in a fairy tale world. However, Lin Su did it. She even took care of Qin Sheng and Shaman for half a year and did so much for Qin Sheng. At first, everyone thought that there would be no more accidents and that they would have the best ending. But who would have thought that it would suddenly turn out like this? When Lin Zhe found out that Qin Sheng had broken up with Lin Su and gotten engaged to that woman in Beijing, he was completely furious. He had planned to go to Beijing to confront Qin Sheng, but Lin Changhe had stopped him. Lin Changhe had told him that if he thought it was for Lin Su's good, he should not go to Beijing to confront Qin Sheng. It was their own business. Otherwise, Lin Su would only hate him. He knew that his sister must have gone to the United States because she was sad. He could not do anything about it. After all, he was facing Qin Sheng, who was an enemy that he could not defeat. However, he still did not expect that Qin Sheng would be so shameless to come to Ningbo. What qualifications did he have to see his grandmother off? How would he face her? If she knew this, how sad would she be? Qin Sheng did not expect that this would happen as soon as he got out of the car. However, he had thought that this might happen. Many people in the Lin family might have known about the relationship between him and Lin Su. They might also know that he was engaged to Song Ruyu. After all, these things could not be concealed, so he had made preparations before coming here. Lin Zhe was Lin Su's brother, so he was qualified to question him. Qin Sheng had no reason to refute him. No matter what, he was wrong, so he did not have the confidence to answer. Qin Sheng looked at Lin Zhe and shook his head with a bitter smile. Lin Zhe took 2 steps forward and directly grabbed Qin Sheng's collar. Qin Sheng, say something. What qualifications do you have to come to our Lin family? How dare you come here? Qin Sheng's 2 bodyguards of the Qin family immediately stepped forward and were about to beat him. They did not care about Lin Zhe's identity. As long as he dared to beat Qin Sheng, they would not be polite. Qin Sheng waved his hand to signal them to leave it alone. He forcibly pulled Lin Zhe's hand away. Lin Zhe was no match for him at all, so he had to let go of it. Qin Sheng said slowly, "You are angry with me. In the future, I won't fight back if you want to beat or scold me. But today, I hope you can control yourself, whether it is for the Lin family or for Lin Su. Who do you think you are? This is our Lin family. It is not your place to tell us what to do." Lin Zhe also lost his temper. He had been holding back for a long time. Now that he finally met Qin Sheng, how could he miss this chance? The commotion here was so big that it had already attracted the attention of the Lin family and other people who had come to pay their respects to old Madame Lin. Everyone knew Lin Zhe was the future successor of the Lin family, but no one knew who the man opposite Lin Zhe was. However, who could have caused Lin Zhe to lose his temper today? After all, this was old Madame Lin's funeral. No matter what, Lin Zhe had to restrain himself. Moreover, everyone who came was here to pay respects to old Madame Lin. No matter how much hatred and resentment Lin Zhe had, he had to suppress it. Therefore, everyone began to point fingers and discuss this matter. At this time, Lin Changhe happened to send an elder friend out. When he saw this scene, he felt a headache. He tried his best to suppress the relationship between Lin Su and Qin Sheng, because he did not want to cause too much trouble to the Lin family at this time. He did not expect that Lin Zhe would act recklessly again. However, he could understand Lin Zhe's mood. After sending this elder friend out, Lin Changhe walked over quickly and said angrily, "Lin Zhe, what are you doing? Let go of my hand." When Lin Zhe saw Lin Changhe walking over, he shouted helplessly, "Second uncle." Lin Changhe stared at Lin Zhe sharply and said, "No matter how important it is, you have to wait until after your grandma's funeral. If you dare to act recklessly again, don't blame me for being impolite." What else could Lin Zhe say? He could ignore Qin Sheng, but he dared not to ignore his second uncle. He had to send Qin Sheng here with his teeth clenched. Qin Sheng did not feel embarrassed. He looked at Lin Changhe guiltily and said, "Second uncle, I'm sorry." Lin Changhe, of course, knew what Qin Sheng meant. He patted Qin Sheng's shoulder and said, "Go to worship the old lady first." Before he left, he was talking about you and Lin Su. If he could see you for the last time, he would feel relieved. Qin Sheng did not explain anything, and he did not know what to say. He just nodded and followed Lin Changhe into the main hall of the Lin family's main building. The main building of the Lin family had been changed into the old lady's mourning hall. All the wreaths and other things were placed on the two walls outside. Many famous people's names could be seen. After all, the Lin family was quite influential in the Yangtze River Delta these years. Besides, this was also the result of the efforts of several generations of the Lin family. Qin Sheng followed Lin Changhe into the main hall. The main hall had been decorated solemnly. The old lady's big black and white photo was hung on the wall. Below the photo was the old lady's ice coffin, which was surrounded by countless white and yellow flowers. There were also many wreaths on both sides of the wall. The Lin family must have put wreaths in the mourning hall. Those who came to pay their respects to the old lady would naturally understand what it meant when they saw it. For those great families from ancient times until now, such a funeral was no longer just a funeral. It was also a time for a family to strengthen itself and pave the way for the future of the family. This was understandable. This kind of scene was even more common in Suzhou City, especially for those who had made meritorious contributions. When they passed away, leaders would often come to offer their condolences. Most of the flower baskets on both sides of the wall were signed by the former or current leaders. This was the heritage of the big families in Suzhou City. When Qin Sheng went in to pay his respects, of course, he was stopped at the back. At this time, all the members of the Lin family had already seen Qin Sheng. When they saw Qin Sheng, their expressions were very complicated. People of different status had different feelings. Of course, many people did not expect that Qin Sheng would show up. After all, Lin Su did not come back in time. Moreover, Qin Sheng and Lin Su were not married after all. At this time, some rumors were disproved. Of course, some people also understood that it was reasonable for Qin Sheng to pay his respects to the old lady since Lin Su did not come back in time. Moreover, Qin Sheng would be the son-in-law of the Lin family sooner or later. However, they did not know that there was such a complicated story behind it. Qin Sheng walked forward slowly. His steps were more or less heavy. Anyway, the old lady was very kind to him. Looking at the old lady's portrait, the old lady's voice and smile appeared in Qin Sheng's mind. The amiable old lady passed away like this. People would eventually return to dust in this life. However, the scenery along the way was the most important. The old lady had experienced what she should have experienced in this life. Now, the Lin family was prosperous, and she could also face the ancestors of the Lin family with a smile. Compared with other people who paid their respects to the old lady, they simply burned incense, bowed, and expressed their condolences to the direct descendants of the Lin family. Qin Sheng was different. No matter what the outside world thought of him, he regarded himself as a member of the Lin family today. Therefore, after Qin Sheng slowly burned incense, he knelt down heavily and kowtowed to the old lady 3 times. When he finished these 3 kowtows, Qin Sheng's eyes were already red. He was still very sad because he felt sorry for old lady Lin. After Qin Sheng stood up, he walked toward the immediate descendants of the Lin family unhurriedly. Almost all the people present were the immediate descendants of the Lin family. Lin Chongting and Lin Chonghe, the 2 elders, stood in the front, while the others stood behind them. This was the most basic rule of the Lin family. After all, Lin Chongting and Lin Chonghe were the biological sons of old Mrs. Lin and the oldest among the immediate descendants of the Lin family. Qin Sheng looked at Lin Chongting, held his hand tightly, and said in a low voice, "Uncle Lin, I'm sorry for your loss." No matter what conflicts he had with Lin Chongting in the past, and no matter how Lin Chongting thought of him, these things could be left behind today, because today he came for old lady Lin. During this period, Lin Chongting had become much more indifferent. He replied in a low voice, "Thank you." No matter what he had done to Qin Sheng, how Qin Sheng had responded to him, and how his relationship with Lin Su was, he was very grateful that Qin Sheng came today. Moreover, it was all thanks to Qin Sheng and the Qin family that the Lin family could get through the crisis and rise again. Qin Sheng and Lin Chonghe just looked at each other. Needless to say, except for Lin Su, Lin Chonghe was the one who had the most contact with the Lin family. They all knew what Qin Sheng wanted to say. In the end, Qin Sheng looked at all the members of the Lin family and nodded slightly, which could be regarded as a greeting. At this time, it seemed that Qin Sheng should leave and have a rest. However, Qin Sheng did not intend to leave. He walked directly to Lin Chonghe and Lin Chongting and stood in the second row quietly. The meaning of this was self-evident, because today he was a member of the Lin family. All the members of the Lin family were shocked, but they seemed to understand. Only Lin Chonghe knew why Qin Sheng did this. The news that Qin Sheng appeared in the Lin family, came to pay his respects to old lady Lin, and finally stood among the members of the Lin family, spread like wildfire. Many tycoons of the Yangtze River Delta, who had planned to send a wreath, drove directly to the Lin family in Ningbo to pay their respects in person, because Qin Sheng's attitude was very obvious. It was especially so for those big shots in Zhejiang who had dealings with Qin Sheng, such as Basu, who had risen to power, the Dugu family, who was in crisis, the old monk, who was experienced and farsighted. Of course, there was also Wu Yongchuan, who had personally sent his foster father to hell. Chapter 1076. What Qin Sheng did was also his final compensation to the Lin family. After all, he owed Lin Su too much and old Madame Lin too much. However, if the Zhu family found out about this, they would definitely reprimand Qin Sheng. After all, Qin Sheng was engaged to Song Ryu now. If he did that, the Song family would lose face. At that time, if the Song family asked about it, it would be hard for the Zhu family to explain. After all, Qin Sheng had broken up with Lin Su. Why did he keep thinking about her? Was he trying to cheat on her? The Song family would never allow such a thing to happen. However, Qin Sheng really did not think so much. At most, he would be reprimanded by the Zhu family or explained to the Song family in person. He thought that they would understand. After all, Qin Sheng was not an ungrateful person. Qin Sheng stood there for more than an hour. Those who came to pay their respects to the old lady of the Lin family were somewhat surprised when their family members expressed their gratitude. Who was this young man standing behind Lin Chonghe and Lin Chongting? He didn't seem to remember that there was such a person in the Lin family. After all, even Lin Zhe wasn't qualified to stand here. Later, the news spread faster and faster, and more people knew about it. Only then did they realize that this young man was the legendary son-in-law of the Lin family, and also the heir of the famous Qin family. After that, Lin Chongting asked Qin Sheng to take a rest. No one could standing here all the time. The direct descendants of the Lin family also took turns to rest. If any big shots really came, the Lin family would inform them in advance. It was already afternoon. Qin Sheng did not even have time to have lunch. He had been sleeping on the plane. Lin Chonghe, took Qin Sheng to his building and asked the kitchen to prepare some dishes. Qin Sheng finally had a chance to fill his stomach. At this moment, there were only Qin Sheng and Lin Changhe in the dining room. When Qin Sheng was almost done with his meal, Lin Changhe said slowly, "I think it's hard to hide Lin Su's whereabouts from now on. This is a bit too big. Who knows where the news will be leaked? If Lin Su really wants to come back, I'm afraid no one can stop her." Qin Sheng said quietly, "With Sister Qing in there, I can be at ease. If she really can't persuade Lin Su, let me do it. If Lin Su wants to hate someone, she can hate me." Lin Su could not come back to bid farewell to her grandmother. Of course, she would be very sad and pained. Perhaps only Qin Sheng could persuade her. Lin Changhe said helplessly, "What will happen to Lin Su in the future? Will she stay in the United States forever? That doesn't seem to be a solution." Qin Sheng said thoughtfully, "I can only do this for the time being. This is also the best protection for her. Let's talk about it after everything goes smoothly on my side." Lin Changhe continued, "After the baby is born, Lin Su can bring the baby back. She doesn't need to stay in the United States anymore. You don't have to worry about the rest. I will figure out a way to arrange it properly. No one will suspect anything." What Lin Changhe said was almost the same as what Xue Qingyan had thought at the beginning. That was to make up a fact. For example, Lin Su had married someone in the United States, and the child was born by them. It was actually very easy to find such a person. As long as they paid the money, there was nothing that they couldn't do. Qin Sheng was not surprised that Lin Changhe knew about Lin Su's pregnancy. After all, Xue Qingyan had told him on the phone. Lin Changhe had already thanked God that he didn't tell other members of the Lin family. In addition, Lin Changhe didn't reprimand him or discuss countermeasures with him. What else did Qin Sheng want? Qin Sheng said calmly, "Uncle Lin, don't worry about these things. When things go well with the Qin family, I won't have any taboos. I will give Lin Su what I should give, and I will also give the children what I should give." He did not say that he would not be stingy with what he should give and what he should help the Lin family. Lin Changhe had no choice but to say, "Let's talk about it later." After talking about these things, Qin Sheng went to rest. He hadn't had any rest since last night. Lin Changhe had a lot of things to do, so he had no time to take care of Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng was arranged to live in the house where Lin Su used to live. After all, Lin Su and Qin Sheng had such a relationship. It was the most suitable room for Qin Sheng to live in. Qin Sheng had been to Lin Su's boudoir before, so he was very familiar with the room. As soon as he entered the room, he could smell the familiar smell, which was unique to Lin Su. It seemed that Lin Su was with him. Sometimes Qin Sheng also felt that it was unfair for him to do this to Lin Su. If it were other women, they would have broken up. How could they give him such a chance? Lying on the bed, Qin Sheng thought about Lin Su, who was far away in Los Angeles. He hadn't seen her for several months. He didn't know whether she had gained weight or lost weight. He fell asleep while thinking about her. Qin Sheng didn't know how long he had slept. He was woken up by a phone call. He picked up the phone and found it was already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He didn't know what was going on until he picked up the phone. It turned out that those big shots in Hangzhou had come. The first one to come was a dying old monk. He came with his 2 foster sons and his grandson, Chu Huanqi, to worship old Madame Lin. When the old monk showed up, many people were somewhat shocked. They didn't expect that the old monk, who hadn't shown up for a long time, would show up in person. After washing up, Qin Sheng rushed to the morning hall. At this time, the old monk, his grandson, Chu Huanqi, and his 2 foster sons were worshiping old Madame Lin. After the worshiping, the family members returned the greeting. At this time, the old monk and his companions walked slowly to the people of the Lin family. Both Lin Changting and Lin Changhe were familiar with the old monk. They had seen each other many times over the years. However, they didn't have a deep relationship with each other. After all, they took different paths. The deeper the relationship, the more disadvantageous it would be for the Lin family. Consequently, the Lin family had always kept a distance from these people. Just like when Lin Songhao was in power in Ningbo, the Lin family still didn't want to have a close relationship with him. However, Lin Songhao shamelessly wanted the Lin family to support him. Besides, he was also showing off his power to the Lin family. After all, the Lin family was just a branch of the Lin family, while Lin Chongting and Lin Chonghe were the direct descendants of the Lin family. However, today, the old monk came to worship old Madame Lin in person. The Lin family was very grateful to him. Of course, they had to greet the old monk politely. Of course, they also knew that the old monk didn't come for them, but for Qin Sheng. If Lin Chonghe and Lin Chongting didn't even know this, they would have lived like dogs. Don't be sad. The old monk bowed slightly and sighed with emotion. Maybe he would end up like this soon. Originally, he only had a few months to live. The doctors tried all kinds of ways to prolong his life. If Qin Sheng hadn't appeared in Ningbo, he wouldn't have come at all. Lin Chongting said politely, "Senior Chu, sorry to trouble you." The old monk shook his head and sighed bitterly. "Senior Chu, thank you. Let Qin Sheng take you inside to have a rest." Lin Chonghe replied calmly, "Senior Chu, thank you. Let Qin Sheng take you inside to have a rest." At this time, the old monk walked to Qin Sheng. He smiled and patted Qin Sheng's shoulder. "Qin Sheng, long time no see. Let's talk inside." The old monk was a big figure, but he was not qualified to be respected by Qin Sheng. In front of the old monk, Qin Sheng was confident. He said in a deep voice, "This way, please." Under the guidance of the servants of the Lin family, Qin Sheng and the old monk came to the living room of the side building. They talked about something. The other members of the Lin family didn't join in because it was not suitable for them to get involved in the affairs between Qin Sheng and the old monk. It was not until this time that Chu Huanqi greeted Qin Sheng politely. "Master Qin." Qin Sheng didn't want to talk to Chu Huanqi at all. He had a grudge with Qin Sheng. If his grandfather hadn't dealt with this matter in person, he would have been killed by Qin Sheng in the last disturbance. So Chu Huanqi was still afraid of Qin Sheng. As for the two foster sons of the old monk, Qin Sheng had only met them a few times. He had more contact with other people. However, he heard that the old monk had dealt with the two foster sons who had high positions. So now Chu Huanqi was completely in charge of the old monk side. The two foster sons supported Chu Huanqi completely because they didn't have a strong foundation. Otherwise, the old monk wouldn't have supported them. "Master Chu, you look very healthy," Qin Sheng said deliberately. In order to save his grandson's life, the old monk had said that he only had a few months left. Of course, the old monk knew what Qin Sheng meant. He smiled helplessly and said, "Young Master Qin, don't tease me. I just came out of the hospital. Whether we can meet again next time depends on God." "Master Chu, do you have any other purpose besides worshipping the old lady this time?" Qin Sheng asked directly. The old monk said thoughtfully, "Actually, I have no other purpose. I just want to see young Master Qin. Secondly, I have a presumptuous request. I hope young Master Qin can promise me." "What is it? Say it first." Qin Sheng frowned and said. The old monk let out a long sigh and said, "I'm going to die soon. If I die in the future, I hope young Master Qin can take care of my disappointing grandson for my sake. Of course, I won't let young Master Qin take care of me for nothing. Every year, the Chu family will give some benefits to young Master Qin. What do you think, young Master Qin?" He was full of sincerity. Qin Sheng didn't expect that there would be such a good thing when he came to Ningbo. However, he would not easily agree to this kind of thing. Who knew how many people the old monk had offended? When he died, people would hit him when he was down. So Qin Sheng just said, "I'll think about it." The old monk nodded and said, "Then I'll wait for your news." At this time, Wei Li called and said that he had arrived at the Lin family. He had worshipped the old lady, but he didn't see Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng said that he was in the side building and asked the servants of the Lin family to bring him here. After hanging up the phone, the old monk stood up and said goodbye. He didn't ask Qin Sheng who had come. He thought that it must be the group of people from Hangzhou. After all, they came in person for Qin Sheng's sake. Not long after the old monk left, Wei Li came in. However, he was followed by the brother and sister of the Dugu family. Qin Sheng was quite familiar with them and knew that Wei Li was close to them. He smiled and greeted them, then chatted with them. I didn't expect that you would come. Wei Li smiled and joked. Of course, Qin Sheng knew what he meant. He replied, what should come will come. People can't be ungrateful. Aren't you afraid that the Song family will know? Wei Li continued. The brother and sister of the Dugu family were very respectful in front of Wei Li. After all, the Wei family was getting better and better. After all, the Dugu family was not as good as before. Qin Sheng replied honestly, if they know, then they know. I will explain to them honestly. The Song family is not so stingy. Wei Li said helplessly, you are such a sentimental person. Wei Li and the brother and sister of the Dugu family left soon. However, they would stay in Ningbo for 2 days. After all, they had many friends here. It was rare for them to come here, so they couldn't go back like this. After that, Qin Sheng received Boss Hu. He didn't talk much with Boss Hu because there was nothing to talk about. However, Boss Hu valued Qin Sheng's relationship very much. If he didn't come, Qin Sheng might have a problem with him. After Boss Hu left, Wu Yongchuan and Brother Luo arrived. When Wu Yongchuan saw Qin Sheng, he scolded Boss Hu, saying that Qin Sheng had stolen their business and so on. Qin Sheng didn't care about Wu Yongchuan because Wu Yongchuan was of no use to him anymore. However, Qin Sheng talked more with Brother Luo. After all, he was indebted to Brother Luo. Although Brother Luo cooperated with Wu Yongchuan, he also had a good development this time. Now, he could be said to be the most powerful among Third Master Wu's adopted sons. Of course, it was also because of Qin Sheng's relationship. Both the old monk and boss who respected Brother Luo. In the end, Qin Sheng thought of his former friend. He let out a long sigh and said, Brother Luo, is there any news about Yang Deng? Hearing this familiar name, Brother Luo knew what Qin Sheng wanted to ask. He replied, he disappeared. There's no news about him at all. I asked many people to inquire about him, but there is no news. Qin Sheng said helplessly, after all, I am sorry for him. Brother Luo patted Qin Sheng's shoulder and said, he will understand. After that, Qin Sheng saw Brother Luo off in person. After that, he didn't receive anyone else. It was said that some people would come from Shanghai tomorrow. Qin Sheng might have to show up. In the evening, night fell. Qin Sheng accompanied Lin Yu and chatted with several women of the Lin family. At this time, several strange men appeared in the back mountain of the Lin family. They had investigated all the terrain of the Lin family and were discussing countermeasures at the moment. These people were sent by Elder Long. They were Old Ghost and the others. The others looked at Lao Gui and asked, Big brother, there are too many people. How can we deal with them? Lao Gui squinted and stared at the Lin family, which was brightly lit. He smiled and said, there will be a chance. Chapter 1077. Waiting to watch the play after receiving Elder Long's order, Lao Gui and the others arrived in Ningbo from Shenzhen in the afternoon. What could Qin Sheng do in Ningbo? It must be because of the Lin family. Elder Long could find out the news of old Lady Lin's death with a little inquiry. After all, this matter was not hidden from the public. Nowadays, most people in Ningbo already knew it. Lao Gui and the others found the Lin family's old house easily. After all, the Lin family was so influential in Ningbo. However, the security at the Lin family's old mansion was much tighter than before. After all, this was old Madame Lin's funeral. The Lin family was afraid that someone would come and cause trouble. Secondly, those who came to pay their respects to old Madame Lin were all sorts of important people. If something really happened at the Lin family's old mansion, no one would be able to bear the responsibility. Therefore, the Lin family had long been prepared. Before old Lady Lin passed away, they had already made a plan, especially in the aspect of security. They had hired several professional security companies, as well as the internal bodyguards of the Lin family, and so on. It would be difficult for anyone to make a move here. Moreover, there were many policemen arranged by the Ningbo police outside, and 2 cars were patrolling back and forth in case of any accidents. Moreover, these big shots who came to pay their respects to old Lady Lin also brought bodyguards with them. Who knew if there would be some hidden masters? Therefore, Lao Gui and the others dared not take risks out of desperation. Even if they could sneak into the Lin family's old house at night, they might not be able to find Qin Sheng. Even if they found Qin Sheng, they would have to face the Qin family's bodyguards and the Lin family's people. Moreover, Qin Sheng's strength was not simple. It was impossible for him to finish the battle in a short time. Once he couldn't finish the battle in a short time, he would inevitably alert the enemy. At that time, it would be difficult for them to escape, let alone kill Qin Sheng. Therefore, what they could do was to wait for the perfect opportunity. Even if they couldn't find it this time, they would not easily take action. Otherwise, it would be extremely difficult for them to take action in the future. In the evening, after chatting with the women of the Qin family, Qin Sheng went back to Lin Su's room to rest. When Song Ryu called him, Qin Sheng did not tell her that he was in Ningbo. It was not that he could hide anything from her. He just did not want Song Ryu to think too much. After all, women's minds were hard to guess. If Song Ryu really knew about it, Qin Sheng would explain it to her frankly. During this period of time, Song Ryu had taken the initiative to call Qin Sheng almost every day. Of course, Qin Sheng would take the initiative to call Song Ryu as well. After all, they had been engaged, and their relationship was getting closer and closer. Although they had not broken through the last layer, they were almost there. Qin Sheng did not dare to neglect Song Ryu. The next day, there were still many people who came to pay their respects to old Madame Lin. Qin Sheng accompanied the members of the Lin family to meet many big shots. Of course, there were also people who came for Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng also received them politely. For example, many people from Hangzhou and Shanghai were Qin Sheng's old acquaintances. The members of the Lin family were still very busy, but in an orderly manner. After all, such a century-old family had experienced all kinds of things and would not be thrown into confusion by sudden changes. However, everyone was a little tired. Even Qin Sheng felt a little tired. The old madam would be buried the next day. The Lin family did not want to delay too long. According to the tradition, the old madam would be buried together with the old master of the Lin family in the ancestral grave of the Lin family. The Lin family had been rooted in Ningbo for so many years, and it was not easy for them to get to where they were today. It was said that the feng shui of the Lin family's ancestral grave was very good. It was the location chosen by a famous feng shui master in Jiangsu and Zhejiang. It hid wind and gathered water. It was near the mountain and could look at the sea. It was no wonder that every time the Lin family encountered a crisis, it could turn into a blessing. In the afternoon, there were fewer guests who came to pay their respects to old Madame Lin. However, since the funeral of the old Madame Lin would be held tomorrow, many people would come to see her off. This time, many people who came to pay their respects to old Madame Lin stayed in Ningbo, waiting for the burial of the old Madame Lin. Lin Yu did not sleep well for the past 2 days. Not only did she help the members of the Lin family, but she also chatted with her sister, Lin Su. She was afraid that something unexpected would happen. If her sister found out at this time, it would be really troublesome. When Qin Sheng was resting on the balcony of the auxiliary building, Lin Yu walked in with a cup of freshly squeezed watermelon juice in her hand and asked, "Brother-in-law, are you tired?" Qin Sheng shook his head and said, "I'm fine. However, the dark circles under your eyes are a bit serious. After you finish your work tomorrow, you should take a good rest for a few days. Otherwise, you won't look pretty anymore." Lin Yu asked casually, "Got it, brother-in-law." "Brother-in-law, do you think my sister knows about it?" Qin Sheng shook his head and said, "I don't think she knows about it. Based on your sister's character, if she knows about it, she will definitely call us. She has a deep relationship with Grandma. It is impossible for her to hide it from us. Besides, Sister Qingyan is by her side. How could she not feel it?" Lin Yu nodded and said, "I also hope my sister doesn't know about it. Otherwise, she will definitely be very sad." While Qin Sheng was chatting with Lin Yu, the news that he had come to the Lin family in Ningbo had already spread to Beijing. Su Xingwei was the first one who knew about it. Su Xingwei was eager for the Qin family to have internal strife. He spread the news with his big mouth, and even called Song Hushing directly. Song Hushing received Su Xingwei's call in his office. His intuition told him that it was definitely not a good thing. Although he was familiar with Su Xingwei, He did not have much contact with him in daily life. After all, they belonged to different circles. If it was possible, they would not have contact with each other. Even if they met, they just greeted each other politely. Song Hushing laughed and said, "Child Su, the sun rises from the west today." Su Xingwei did not make small talk. He said directly, "Well, I don't want to disturb you, Lao Song, but there is something I think I should tell you. After all, we are still friends. That's why I called you." Song Hushing slightly frowned and said, "What is it? Tell me." Su Xingwei said playfully, "Nothing. Just something about Qin Sheng. After all, you are his brother-in-law. He should say what he should say. Otherwise, Sister Ryu will be hurt in the end, won't she?" Hearing Qin Sheng's name, Song Hushing instantly became somewhat unhappy. He snorted and said, "Su Xingwei, don't keep me guessing. What's the matter?" Su Xingwei said slowly, "Since Qin Sheng and Ryu are engaged, I think we should let go of our previous feelings. Otherwise, how can we face Ryu? I don't know whether you know about this or not. If you do, just treat it as me talking too much. If you don't, I advise you to ask about it as soon as possible. I heard that Qin Sheng went to Ningbo to look for Lin Su again. It seems that Lin Su's grandmother passed away, but they broke up. Moreover, Qin Sheng is engaged." After hearing this news, Song Hushing restrained his anger and said, "Are you sure?" Back then, the reason why he had been obstructing the marriage between Qin Sheng and Ryu was that he knew that Qin Sheng had a lot of affairs outside, especially when Qin Sheng had a girlfriend, Lin Su. However, Ryu had been bewitched. Although they were engaged now, Song Hushing still did not approve of this marriage. As long as they were not married, he would stop it. However, he did not expect that Qin Sheng would go to look for Lin Su. He did not care why Qin Sheng went there. As long as Qin Sheng contacted Lin Su behind his sister's back, he would not allow it. Su Xingwei said lightly, "How can I lie to you about this? If you don't believe me, you can call him." "Okay, I've said what I need to say. How to deal with it is up to you. Remember to owe me a meal. I have something else to do. Bye." After saying this, Su Xingwei hung up the phone and showed a complacent smile. He guessed that Song Hushing was going to make trouble for Qin Sheng again. He could sit back and watch the show. He knew it was difficult to use Song Hushing as a weapon, but Song Hushing's weakness was his sister. He even suspected that Song Hushing had a sister complex. Otherwise, why did he care about Song Ryu so much? Anyway, it had nothing to do with him. Let's see how Song Hushing would fight with Qin Sheng. However, Su Xingwei miscalculated. After hanging up the phone, Song Hushing did not directly contact Qin Sheng. Since Su Xingwei could call him, it must be true. The first thing he wanted to know was whether Ryu knew about it or not. If Qin Sheng went to Ningbo behind Ryu's back, he would definitely not spare Qin Sheng. After walking out of the office, Song Hushing found an empty conference room and called Song Ryu. Lin Su, who was working outside, quickly answered the phone. Before Song Ryu said anything, Song Hushing said directly, "Do you know that Qin Sheng went to Ningbo?" You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.